I really? I think let me try. Yeah, I don't need to have it point at my screen, right? Yeah. Hi, mother. Okay. Meow, meow, meow. Meow. Didn't mean to hit play. No, stop. I don't know if we're allowed to watch movies on YouTube or on TikTok. Hey everyone, welcome. Hey Josh. Hi Jeff. Jeff, I do see your request. I'm gonna try and get a debate going. I don't know if I'll have co-host tonight. I just started my live. The delay right now on my fucking laptop is my keyboard and my laptop is annoying. Hi Christy. Hi Karma. Oh, we have 30 subscribers. Dope. Let's see if we can get to 50 by the end of the month. It's the 16th, so 12 days. Yes, that's not doable, but okay. Thank you. No. Nope. There's not even a point on me fucking using this to type right now. Boop. Boop.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing great. Can you hear me?
Nope. You're a little muffled.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Let's see. Let me go through the prompts. Let's see. First one, it's definitely misogyny is definitely about hatred towards women. I feel like men want to control women because they hate the fact that women now want more rights, more freedom. Patriarchy exists. I mean, yes, obviously, Virginity isn't real. That's I don't know about that one. Let's see. Body count shouldn't matter. Uh, I think it matters, but it doesn't matter as much as men make it out to be.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter as much as men make it out to be. Men who want submissive women are weak. I disagree with that one. I don't think wanting a woman who is submissive makes you a weak man. I think if you adequately do what you're supposed to do as a man, I feel like women will naturally, I guess, quote unquote, submit to you. If you get what I mean.
Now that you've gone through the prompt and given us your opinion on each talking point, where did you want to start?
We can go with the first one.
Okay. So I think the descriptive definition that you gave of misogyny is a very elementary understanding of misogyny, where I'm essentially looking at it as more as how it has been applied within society. So
Um,
my argument would be that because we do live in a patriarchy, that misogyny would essentially be an extension of that and almost a visible arm acting as a type of force in order to control women so that men can stay and maintain power.
I 100% agree. But I do think if you have that belief system, you have to hate women too. Do you not?
Why?
Because in order to want control of a population, you have to view them as some sort of obstacle to your goal. Because right now, what would you say the main goal of, I guess you could say, most misogynists? Or right, do you think misogyny is a right wing value?
Not necessarily. I think it's definitely more acceptable within the right wing ideology and culture. But no, I think there are plenty of people on the left who are misogynistic.
Okay, that I can definitely agree to that. But I do think for the most part, would you say that the majority of those in power, the people, the politicians that are in power, the ones who are in state legislatures, congressmen, U.S. officials, do you think the majority of quote unquote misogynists in those positions of power are on the left or on the right?
I don't think that really matters to my claim. I don't even think being a politician matters to the discussion. Because even if we look at within family structures, especially within America, they have been inherently patriarchal, where the man is head of household. And I would argue that that structure is designed to also keep men in control, even within their families.
I agree, but when we're talking about stuff like controlling women, you control women through
Correct.
legislation, correct?
There's many
Do you
ways
not?
that women can be controlled.
I know, but you said politicians wouldn't necessarily mean anything in regard to the claim, even though legislation is
I
the
mean, it
main.
can be a pillar of it, but I don't know why we just have to equivocate power with politics.
Wait, you don't think power and politics go hand in hand? You can't have the politics that you want in your society unless
Being
you
in
have
politics,
power.
yes, is a certain type of power, but it's not the only exclusive power of misogyny.
Oh
That's
no,
my
I
point.
agree. No, but and would you not agree that social bigotry and social I'd say would you not agree that social bigotry um is somewhat the first building
What
block
is your
towards
point? What is your point?
would you not say that social bigotry and the
What
way
point are you trying to convey that we disagree on?
that misogyny is both hatred and control. I don't think those two are mutually exclusive. I think you have to hate women in order to want to control them
Why?
because the only reason you want to control something is if you deem that group or their ideology a threat.
I disagree with that because I think that you can want to participate in social relationships, but you want those relationships to inherently benefit you and provide you with outcomes that are optimal for what you're trying to achieve. I don't think you necessarily need to hate the person that you're controlling in order to want that power structure. But
I,
if you want to promote that, I don't care.
I mean, when you're talking
I,
about,
I just think that premise will fail in a lot of areas that we look at in terms of misogyny.
but like, if we're talking about large swaths of people, do you not have to have some sort of hatred or disdain for them in order to want to control them? Like, when we could look at
No,
slavery, for
I think
instance.
there are men that very much hate women and exhibit violence against them. And then I think there are men that have harmful ideas that don't necessarily hate women, but do want that power structure.
So if you, so just because if you have hateful or bigoted or outdated views on women, how can you not also hate women? Because hating women, there's more
Again,
criteria for
I think
hating.
it's a spectrum. I think men who actually hate women are very abusive and actually will commit violence against women. But I don't want to leave a subsect of men who don't have that hatred towards women, who still advocate for the power structures to where they're in control.
Okay, that's fair. So why don't you think virginity is real? That's an interesting one. So I'm curious,
Yeah,
why do
could
you
you
think
define virginity for me?
it's when you haven't had sex yet?
What do you count as sex?
Um, penetration, oral, yeah, penetration and oral, in my personal
Really?
opinion.
So if someone has had oral sex, you consider them not to be a virgin?
No,
Based on what kind of standard?
based on what we deem as sex.
Based on what we deem as sex. Like, what do you mean by that?
Like, if you give somebody oral, that is considered still an aspect of sex.
What do you mean an aspect of sex?
Like, it's one part of the sexual act.
It's one part. So
Yeah,
there's one part, there's other parts, and then is there a whole?
you there can be a hole if you go the whole 9 yards, but
What do you mean by that? What is the whole?
the hole would be penetration.
The whole would be penetration. So, does anal sex count?
Yes.
So, why, okay, so oral sex, vaginal sex, and oral sex. If you have engaged in any of these activities, then you are no longer a virgin.
In my personal opinion, yes.
Well, we're not talking about your personal opinion. We're talking about what virginity actually is.
Okay. I think if you've done
So
that,
how would you
you're,
determine if someone is a virgin?
I don't think you can determine that through the vagina, the penis. I
I'm
don't think
sorry?
you can. I don't think you can. I don't think you can determine that. I think you just have to ask people.
Okay, so it's not something that you can like medically diagnose that you're either a virgin or you're not a virgin without you would just honestly use your patient's testimony.
Yeah, your patience. Yeah.
So what if your patient doesn't count oral sex?
mm, if they don't count oral sex, then that's I don't know what to tell them.
So you see
That's still
the
that's
problem that we run into here is that
wait.
other people have different standards of what is constituted as virginity and sex.
So wait. So I think so. Are you saying that virginity is a spectrum?
No, I'm saying is that people act like virginity is a line and that you're either on one side of the line or you're on the other side of the line. And I disagree. I don't think there is a line, and I don't think that you can define where the line is.
Okay, that's fair. But I don't know. Me personally, I think if you haven't had sex, then you're a virgin. If you
What if
haven't
I've never
engaged
flown
in,
a plane?
huh?
What if I've never flown a plane? What
Okay,
am I if I've
then
never flown a plane?
you're a person who hasn't flown a plane.
So there's no word for that?
I don't. I'm not sure if there's a word for that.
What if I've like never gone on a hike? Is there a word for that?
No, I don't think
So
those are. I don't think those. I don't think those are good correlations to the topic
why
though,
not?
because I don't think we can compare hiking and flying a plane to sexual intercourse.
Why not? I mean, those are experiences that I might not have had. Why wouldn't it be important to have a word for that?
I mean, we could. I wouldn't
We could.
mind if there was a word for that.
What do you think is the benefit?
I don't really think there's a net positive or a net negative for a word for people who don't hike or don't
What about
fly a
for
plane.
virginity? What about for people who haven't had sex? Is there a positive for having this word virginity?
It's very positive. I mean, if someone's a virgin, nobody looks down on that. Well, I'm just saying, for my personal opinion, I don't look down on people who are virgins.
Do you look down on people who aren't virgins?
No,
Then why would that matter?
I'm not saying it does.
Then what was your point?
That if you haven't had sex, you're a virgin, and then if you had sex, then you're not.
Right. What is the
It's not.
purpose of that?
It's just a label. It doesn't. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a negative thing.
I would argue that the word has been used in order to determine someone's value or morality.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but
Right, and it's something that can't be defined.
I don't think I think it can be defined, but I don't necessarily
I don't
believe.
think it can. If we look at like the dictionary, I don't know like how you would define this concept. If we look at the dictionary, virginity traditionally meant like 50 years ago an unwed girl. And if we look at even within medicine, it's not a medical term. When a doctor essentially talks to their patient, they talk about, are you sexually active? And then when they talk about sexually active, they break it down into certain actions that you can commit, that you can have, whether that be oral sex, anal sex, or vaginal sex. That has purpose because then we can essentially educate someone on how to practice in safe sexual interactions. But I'm wondering, in terms of virginity, is this really construct beneficial since it's so arbitrary to what each person defines virginity as?
I think from a societal standpoint, I don't necessarily believe it is beneficial, but I don't think.
What does that mean?
What do you mean?
What you just said, what does that mean?
Like if virginity, like if people stopped using the term virginity or stopped creating such a fuss about it, I don't think it would necessarily make the world a worse place.
Right. So that's my argument is that virginity isn't something that is real. It's not something that you possess and that you hold. And then once you experience something, it's gone. It's not something objective.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. That's somewhat fair.
What?
Um, do you? Why do you think? Like, wait, I just the last one I really wanted to ask. Why do you think if a man wants a submissive woman, that makes him a weak man?
So I would just define submission as the descriptive claim that the action or fact of accepting or yielding to a superior force or to the will or authority of another person. And if, as a man, you need a partner who essentially just yields to your will and authority, then I think you're very weak in being challenged in your decisions.
Okay, so in my personal opinion, I think in a relationship, I think a man and a woman submit to each other.
What?
In a relationship, a man and a woman submit to each other.
I disagree. I think having any kind of power dynamic within a relationship is unhealthy.
I mean, a healthy power dynamic is when you both equally submit love to one another. I don't understand. Like, I think submission
Submit
has
love to one another? What does that mean?
you both understand that you love and cherish one another, and there are
That
certain
I don't see why
sacrifices
that would be a submission.
you can. But the thing is, though, as in a relationship, a man and a woman can submit to one another. I don't understand why that's a bad. Like, that's not like a bad concept.
It is. Like I said, when it comes to submission,
So if
you're
you both submit,
essentially
how is that bad?
yielding to someone else's will and authority.
So if you so if you as a man submit to your wife and my wife submits to me, how is that bad?
That doesn't make any sense.
That makes complete sense. Submission is only
Wow,
bad when it
how can two people be an authoritative person? What authority are each person submit I that doesn't make sense to me because then essentially one is like how can you be submissive and or authoritative at the same time?
because in a relationship there are certain times when you need to have an authority and there are some times where submission is sometimes okay. If you're a man in a relationship, there are some times where your woman's going to want you to lead, and then there are some times where you as a man need to listen to your woman and listen to her advice and use it for something that you need.
Again, I don't think that's like under the correct definition of authority or submission. Because again, authority is just the power to give rights and orders. So you're essentially just giving someone commands, and they submit to that with obedience. And I don't see how that's a healthy power, like a healthy power dynamic, because you're essentially discounting the other person's thoughts, feelings, emotions, opinions, and taking no stance to be act in a way that is compromising, that is cooperative, that is brainstorming, that involves the other person's consideration. And I think that's very unhealthy. And men who want women to be obedient are weak because they can't be challenged in their authority.
Well, obedient, I think is. I don't think necessarily you should. Men who want an obedient woman, I think that's kind of cringe in a way. But I think if you want, I think
Well, that's the
wanting,
definition of authority.
but I mean wanting a woman who listens to you and allows you to lead, that's
What
not
does that
necessary.
mean? Allows you to lead, just follows you blindly?
No, you as a man have to earn that respect from your
Well, what
woman.
does that mean? She allows you to lead? What does lead mean? Like, give me some
I
context
mean,
here.
it could mean financially, it could mean psychologically.
What do you mean financially? What does that mean?
If you know, pay for the bills around the house.
Then what? Then you get to decide
If
how the
you
money is spent? Is that what you're saying?
know, you would talk to your wife about it.
So where is the authority here?
Mm, like when it comes to certain financial decisions, if my wife wants me to make the final decisions on things, it's not it's not like a bad thing. Like I'm confused as to if
I
you're a
think
man
it
and you're
is. I think it is. I think if she chooses not to participate in decision making and
she can participate
blindly
in decision
follows
making, but she can
what?
participate in she can participate in decision making, but then also say, "Babe, at the end of the day, what you think is correct, that's fine. But I also want input into
Then
what I
she's
think
not
is correct."
participating in decision making. She's giving that responsibility to someone else.
But if she has input, that could sway the person who's making the final decision.
Then that wouldn't be by someone else's authority. That would be compromising, collaborating.
So that's what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with compromising in a relationship.
I didn't say that there wasn't. I would opt for compromise. But that's not submission.
But the thing is, in a relationship, you don't necessarily have to do one or the other 100% of the time. Like there are times where you can submit to your partner, and then there are times where you can be an
Why
authority
why
on
do
certain things.
men why do men want submissive women?
I mean, majority of the time because a lot of men want control.
Okay. So why do they want control?
Because that's how it was back in the day, I'm guessing.
So they just want to continue tradition?
I mean, yeah, I'm not like the
Why?
because that's all that they know. Like I'm not like a traditional motherfucker. Like I'm a communist. Like I'm a gender abolitionist. Like I don't even understand. Like I'm just saying you can have like different. There are different mediums where certain things are okay, and sometimes in a relationship, and in other times that's not needed. Like there are some times where you as a man need to listen to your wife and understand where she's coming from
I think all
and
the time.
understand that, huh?
I think all the time it's important to listen to your partner, understand their needs, take an invested interest in their perception of the situation. I don't know why so many people, especially men, promote this authoritative ideology that they are to lead and that women are to follow blind. I feel that men, if we're going to talk about relationship, I think the best analogy would be a car. Want to be in the driver's seat and just want women in the back seat with a blindfold around their eyes. That we have no idea where we're going. Therefore we have no opinion. We have no idea where we are, and that we're just supposed to trust that we're going to get to the destination that is optimal. And men who want to do that, to me, are weak because they can't be challenged. And maybe this is a better direction.
I mean, yeah, that's some men that's not really my view. I think for the most part, I usually listen to what my girlfriend is saying. I often take her advice and understand where she's coming from 100% of the time. I just think that I think you can have certain mediums in a relationship to where there are times where she says, you need to take the lead on this. And there's sometimes where I'm
Can
like,
you give
okay,
me an
you do.
example?
Um, if we're going to, let's say, if we're planning for a dinner party or something, she'll
Okay.
tell me, she'll tell me, these are the groceries that we need, and then I tell her what groceries we may or may not be able to afford, and then I budget off what we need and how much it's going to cost, and then she'll make the food while I prepare the house and clean the, you know, kitchen, living room,
So
and
what
set up
about that example is authoritative and submissive?
because she gave me the authority to budget the
No,
groceries
that
and how
again
much
was
it
a
would cost.
collaboration. I want to host a party. Great. Let's see what we can afford. How is that you acting like an authority?
Because she said you budget off how much
Oh, so
it's gonna
you
cost.
decide the budget.
No, she said you decided. Like she
Right,
says
you
that's
decide
what
the
I want
budget.
you to do.
Why wouldn't she have an input in that?
She told me that I could do that. Like she told me I could do it. Like it's not like I said I want to do the budget. She said no,
I
that's what I
don't
want you
think
to do.
I don't even think delegating certain jobs within a multitask situation is essentially saying be submissive.
I mean, even the whole concept of submission is a lot of the time subjective because as a man, there are times where you can submit to your woman, and there are times when you're a woman you submit to your man. I just think submission has
Okay.
become a cuss word because a
Do
lot
you
of the
have anything
times
else?
men, I mean, no, it's just
Okay,
I don't know why I
great.
think
Well,
submission has become a
thanks so
cuss
much
word
for
a
coming
lot
on.
of times.
I appreciate it.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye. Did he just submit to me? Dun dun dun. Did did anyone see the tea today? The conservative tea? Yeah, I forgot how much I missed pro-life drama. Oof, it was rough. It was rough, y'all. I was telling my friends in a Discord when Hassan and I break up, I'm gonna host a live, or we're gonna host a live, dumping all the teen, and guess what? He's not gonna join. He's not gonna participate. Maybe it's just me and my old age that I mean, I will tell you one question that really bothers me when I debate is, are you married? And then, because no matter what answer I give, okay, this is designed to set me up to where something is my fault as a woman. If I'm not married, it's my fault that I haven't found a compatible mate. If I am married, then I have just married a simp. If I have been married and I'm divorced, then it's my fault the relationship didn't work out. So that is designed, again, essentially not only to evaluate the worth as a woman, because obviously you don't have any value as a woman if a man hasn't validated you by saying that I would be willing to hang out with this person for a long period of time. Dawn Days, thank you for the subscription. I feel like someone else subscribed to during this live and I forget. And then too, like asking like, well, why didn't your relationship work out? Because again, no, oh, you extended it. Oh, you're the best. Don't know how this works. Because again, no matter what you say, it's designed, again, to put the blame on you. If your husband cheated on you, it's your fault. If you kicked your husband out, it's your fault. If you made too much money, that's your fault. You emasculated him. And so many people obviously we're on TikTok. This isn't like the academia level of the elites. Take this road when they don't have any other arguments to present toward your arguments. And so it's just, again, an attempt to discredit you. And I don't know if anyone saw the live that I was in early this afternoon. But this guy just had like, when men are looking for a woman, this is what I naturally want. I want a woman who does not participate in social media. I want a woman who doesn't have a close girl best friend or a close best friend that she talks to every day. I don't want a woman who participates in girls' night out. What else? Ooh, I think I have my Discord up because someone posted a screenshot. There was something else that he had on the live. Damn, I didn't realize how active. Oh, I'm in general. Live. She doesn't participate in girls' night out. She doesn't have a girl. Oh, she is the complete opposite. She's your complete opposite. And she comes from a 2-parent household. Unfortunately, this was one of the horrible men that doesn't last long when I'm a guest on their live. And this was one guy that really cracked under the tiniest bit of pressure. Because if you're going to have opinions like this, if you really thought them out, then they should stand up to a little bit of questioning. And my only questioning is why. When I got on the live, it's like, okay, why are these traits optimal for you? If she doesn't participate in social media, she doesn't want to do girls' nights out, she doesn't have a best friend that she's in communication with, she's your, like, why are these optimal? And his answer was essentially like, I don't need to explain that to you, which is 100% dodge of the question. I have these preferences and I'm not going to explain, because he knows what the answer is. And so I tried to start giving examples to where this rule wouldn't make sense. She prefers little to no social media. I'm a real estate agent, so I have to participate in social media begrudgingly. I do not like Facebook. I think it is a cesspool that has become the new Twitter sphere. It is essentially people just sharing like their political opinion. Anywho, I hate it. But it's the easiest way for me to meet new people and then grow relationships. I even have time within my schedule to where new friends that I've made, new acquaintances, I put them in a certain group, and then I click that group and it shows me all those people's posts, and I go through and I comment on those people's posts. If it's food, if they're sharing a picture of their kids, whatever it is, I just go and leave a comment, because then that makes me top of mind. So here's a way where I'm participating in social media. Would that be now outside of your she prefers little to no social media? Am I exempt from this rule? Do I pass? And then it was one other guy said that, like, women who participate in social media are just drama. Like, bro, life is drama. And also, that doesn't make any sense. Essentially, they just are. I feel this was an incognito way for him to, like, slut shame women. If she wants to be on social media, I think he has this assumption that she is sharing naked pictures, she is seeking the attention of men, she wants validation, and that's why he's like, I don't really want a girl like that. You just want to say the quiet part out loud. Hi, Kiara. She doesn't like her participating in girls' night out and doesn't have a BFF that she's in constant contact with. Those two specific things to me are essentially saying she doesn't have important relationships outside of ours. And I think that is a way, essentially, for him to want to be number one. And then he doesn't have to compete with anybody. It can be very easy to isolate her if she doesn't have meaningful relationships. And he doesn't want any kind of outside influence that could have a negative critique on him. Because I will tell you, within friendships, especially with your girlfriends, it is a very important balance on being non-biased and giving your opinion on their relationship. I will tell you, I've made the mistake of several times of telling my friends too much of what I think of their spouse. And as I've gotten older, and, you know, been through my own relationship and my own breakup, stuff like that, I've seen friends who have been in very unhealthy relationships, and you don't, no matter what you say, you're not going to change their mind. And so it's important to be a good listening board and be essentially just an advocate of your friend. You know, I found the best question to ask is, are you telling me this to vent, or are you telling me this because you want advice? Because it's not your business. Great take. Comade? I don't even know what that is. Coma. Oh, coma ecliptic. 339 followers. Doing great. From Alberta. If someone is telling me their interpersonal relationships, then yeah, I can be included in that. And again, I think, like, how you phrase certain things, it's important that they come to their own conclusions. But so that was essentially my take on why he doesn't want his wife to participate in girls' night out and have other meaningful relationships, because then he's excluded and he's not number one. Comes from a two-parent household. I really wanted to get to that talking point because I think so many men just consider two-parent household like mom and dad, where for me, I was raised by grandma and mom. And so do I fall within that? Do I not? And if so, like, what are you highlighting here? Are you highlighting that you want someone who comes from this kind of traditional nuclear family where mom and dad were married for 30 years, always present? And do you think that if relationships of parents didn't work out, that more than likely she will be more than likely to want a divorce if certain things aren't happening? So, yeah, that was the live I had today. Anywho, As far as I got was why. Why do you have these opinions? And then just shot down from there. I think Ruby recorded it. I should ask her for the footage. I think I'm gonna restart. Maybe, yeah. I think I might be going too feminist. What do you guys think are some good prompts we should have? I think these might be too much. Kiara, fat phobia is not my strong suit. You think they're perfect, really? Huh. Yes, you can jump in.
Kenzie, is it true that I
Yeah.
can school you on something? That's amazing.
Why do you think we disagree?
No, I don't think we disagree. I'm just saying that I have more knowledge on it.
Well, yeah, aren't you going to school for nutrition?
Yes, so aren't you going to school for feminism
No.
and social studies and gender
No,
studies
I'm not even
and
in
liberal
school.
arts? I'm just kidding. I know.
You know I'm not in college because I asked you that other day when you were like, take this survey. I'm like, I'm not in school. Just
I
pretend you
know.
are.
Please, yeah. I'm actually getting my results currently. It's really interesting. Turned out good.
Yeah? What were your results?
That there's most likely a correlation between your mental health and your diet.
What up?
Yo,
Hi, how you
what up,
doing?
Kyle?
Nothing much.
Dope.
So is this a debate?
Yeah, what do you want to talk about, bro?
I'm gonna be honest. I just clicked join in and read your stuff. I was just guessing. I was probably gonna disagree with most of it. But let's see here.
Oh, shocker.
Oh, virginity isn't real. Well, that's real. That's when you haven't had sex. Body count shouldn't matter. Depends on the person, but I mean, to some it should, some it shouldn't. But who cares if you disagree or agree? Men who want submissive women are weak. Not necessarily. That's just a broad assumption. What else? I can't even read that shit. I don't even fucking know about the rest, but yeah.
All right.
So you
Do
want
you
to go
want me
after
So
to
just
read
that?
it to
some
you or?
virginity is someone who hasn't had sex. Is that correct?
Yep, you're a virgin if you haven't had sex, and that's for a girl that's in the vajay, not in the mouth or the ass, and for a guy it's just like in that thing,
What?
What?
just in
For a
that
guy,
thing, you
what?
know. For a
Wait, what?
for a guy to like not be a virgin anymore, he's got to have vagina sex. Like, he's got to
I
have
see.
sex,
I
not any
see.
other. So,
So,
but like,
but
how can you
so
disagree with me?
lesbians are virgins then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And gay men too?
Then gay men are virgins as well.
Yes.
So there are people that go their whole life being a virgin.
Yeah, because they're messed up in the head.
So is that like a homophobic comment?
What? No, well, I mean,
Is that
yeah,
comment homophobic?
yeah. Is it a homophobic comment? No.
Why do you feel that way?
Then what did you mean by that?
Yeah.
That
We're just a
they
little confused.
have like a mental illness.
If you're
So you're saying that
homosexual?
homosexuality is a mental illness?
Correct.
Based on what measurement?
You have a mental illness that you think you can like another man. It's so like
That's circular.
I mean, I think like what's like out of 100 men, what percent of them are gonna be gay? Do you know? You know the stats,
I
like the
can look it
percentage
up.
of gayness. It's probably very, very low, like on the broad scale, depending on where you are. If you just brought in like
Okay.
100, it's probably
So
not even 1 out of 100. So I would consider
so
that
like
an
you're
illness
saying if
if
it
it's,
so because
but
it's
it's an
1%
acceptable
of people.
illness, of course.
Wait.
It's an
So
acceptable
you're saying
illness, of
because it's
course.
1% of people,
It's
it's a
not one.
mental
I didn't
illness.
say it was 1%. Is it
Well,
1%?
what's 1 out of
It's
100, Kyle?
3.5. It's 3.5%. I
Damn,
just
that's
looked it
actually
up.
kind of big, just depending on like how you look at it. You know what I mean?
That's what she said.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So what? So how is that a standard? So you're saying because it's not prevalent, that makes it a mental illness?
Correct.
I see. So are people with red hair mentally ill?
No, it has nothing to do with your brain. That has to do with your hair, not your brain. It does grow
But
on your
it's not
head. You're pretty
prevalent.
close
It's
there.
not prevalent, Kyle.
What's up? What's up?
I was just about to
Oh,
ask if people with a foot fetish are mentally ill, but I think he would probably say yes.
no, Kyle was removed for community guidelines.
Oh, that's too bad.
Was it?
Hello.
Is it?
How are you?
Good. Were you already here?
I was here, I believe, yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you and I were debating the concept of virginity.
Yeah.
I actually came in to speak to Kyle, but he's no longer here.
Yeah, he was removed.
Yeah, I was basically going to tell him that that's not how you form a conclusion about, how people, whether they're mentally ill or not. Because the thing is, so the example you used, I wouldn't have used that example. What I would have told him is, okay, is somebody that eats a particular food that's considered very niche mentally ill? It's just a preference, right? Because it's behavior based. Whereas for him,
Depends
like
on the food. Absolutely.
yeah,
I will
that's
make
the
that
thing.
statement.
So his
Dan
cheap cop
Kiara.
out,
Sorry,
like
I'm
that was a
snack
cop out.
shaming. I do snack shame sometimes. I'm really sorry. Go ahead.
Says the person who is against fat phobia, snack shamer. Make it
That
make
doesn't
sense.
have to do anything with your body size, but if you're looking me straight in the eye and you're telling me you eat like pineapple on pizza, yeah, then I'm gonna snack shame. Then I'm gonna say it.
Pineapple on pizza is dope. Don't make me kick you.
I actually agree with that one. I just couldn't think of anything else on a hunch.
Hi, Erin.
So yesterday, after our conversation, I looked more into the definition of virginity. The
Okay.
conclusion that I came to is that within the LGBTQ community, there's a lot of varying definitions for them as to like what constitutes virginity. Some people will say like they have multiple virginities because they'll consider anal one, they'll consider like lesbian sex one, right? They'll consider vaginal intercourse with a male one, so they'll like lose actual multiple virginity. Obviously, this is their concept. I'm not saying like this is the traditional concept. So the conclusion I came to is that virginity is subjective, but it is a thing.
So if we look at like the definition of virginity from a dictionary in the 1950s, it says an unwed girl. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely do not know.
So when it comes to the concept of virginity, I would say it's not just an objective thing that you can have, and that once you experience something, it's something that goes away.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
is why I would say it's not real. And again, even if I were to concede and say it is real, it serves no purpose whatsoever. Because again, if I'm talking with a doctor, if I'm talking with anyone else, there's always going to be context.
Right.
And like at what point, like how much penetration has to occur in order for that to be considered an experience?
I think the thing is, I don't think that it's necessarily like a black and white concept like that. I think so, because another definition for it is the state of being naive, innocent, or inexperienced in a particular context. So you could use it for other things. So I think it's just more so somebody who hasn't had sex, period, and then they have sex. And then that's what constitutes the loss of the
Well,
virginity.
again, what is sex?
Well, that's the thing. So this is where it starts getting subjective. The concept of them, having had a novel experience doesn't change, but it's subjective as to what constitutes sex. So you're right about that part.
Yay.
Yeah, I mean, my main point, I'm in full agreement with you. I don't think that it's objectively wrong to have a higher body count if that's the issue you're trying to tackle by saying virginity isn't real. But virginity itself, I think you have to kind of say it's real because
I disagree.
that's okay. We don't have to.
I don't think there is any objectivity in saying that you are one thing one day, and then because you experience something, you're something else the next day. You're not.
Right. Yeah, I don't
And I mean, would you say my experience when it comes to virginity, if I'm someone who's never had sex, would you say that if I were to experience sex with a stranger that was somewhat coerced, that would be the same experience as experiencing it with someone who cares about me, who I feel safe around? Like, are those equal experiences?
No, of course not, right? And this is the part that, like I said, like you're right, that part of it is very subjective, right?
So would I have different outcomes based on these experiences?
Would you have different outcomes? Absolutely, yeah.
And would it change at all when we talk about the concept of virginity?
I think the part that I want to get away from is saying like you go from being a virgin to not being a virgin, as in like that's a label on a person. I think that when I say virginity, and when we use the actual classical definition of virginity, like I said, how it can be used across different things, we can just basically say that it's something that someone hasn't experienced before, and now they've experienced it, right?
Do you think giving that word, like you're a virgin, that
Right.
when you have an experience, that there is a context that you have changed?
Sorry, I maybe I didn't catch on to that. Can you repeat it?
Do you think that if we give this label of being a virgin, that once someone experiences sexual intercourse, regardless of to what capacity it is, that there is a context to where we are telling that person, you have changed?
Yeah, and this is where it gets weird, right? Like because people want to use it within the context of saying, oh, like there's value to it, and that's where it gets weird, right? We're,
I don't even, need you to apply it in the context of value. Just you have changed.
I don't think you've changed. I think you just are no longer. It's no longer a novel experience to you, so you're no longer a virgin.
I would disagree. Like, just because you have sex once doesn't mean that it's not a novel experience to you the second time you have it.
Yeah, especially with who you're having sex with, right?
Yeah, and
Like if you
especially
have
for
a
girls.
yeah, it's very different, like depending on the partner.
I would argue that the first time I had intercourse that resulted in an orgasm
Yeah.
was more of an experience than losing my virginity, quote unquote.
So it's
Yep.
more experience, but it doesn't change the fact that you still had experiences prior to that.
It does. It absolutely does. Do you like though me losing my virginity doesn't mean anything to me, but me experiencing an orgasm during sex meant something to me.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, in the subjective realm of that, I agree with you. Absolutely. I think you could set your own definition for that. The angle that I'm tackling here isn't from a subjective point of view, but more so like the word virginity itself and what it entails. And just like the fact
I
that
don't think it's something you can objectively, like, it's not something that you possess that goes away.
you don't so here's the thing, like I think this is where maybe we're losing each other. Yeah, I don't think you possess virginity. However, you could say, hey, I'm no longer a skateboard virgin. Like you hear people say, hey, let's pop your cherry in this particular aspect of this thing, right? I'm sure you've heard that used. So that's
Yeah, I mean that's slang. That's a word, you know, determined to something else. But do we place any kind of moral significance, of identity significance, of label significance on someone who has and has not skateboarded?
so the label is for you, and I don't think we can put a moral significance on it because morals are subjective, right? So this is what I've been trying to say the whole time, is that I don't think it's a label that you should necessarily put on people, but for a person, they can say, hey, I'm no longer a virgin because I've had sex, right? Like this experience is no longer novel to me. Hey, I'm no longer a virgin in this area, whatever it is. It doesn't matter if it's sex or not. Sure, you don't possess something. It's not your, it's literally just,
Don't think you need the word virgin. I can say, like, you know, I'm someone who's never had vaginal intercourse. I'm someone who's never had oral sex. I'm someone who's never done, you know, A, B, or C. The word virginity just doesn't serve a purpose, and I actually think it creates a lot of harm in terms of the context that we use it in.
yeah, I don't disagree that there's harm there, that where people misuse these things. I still don't think that affects whether it's real or not, but either way, I think for you, the thing that you have an issue with is people assigning a value to it and saying this person's a virgin, this person's not a virgin, right? Is that what it is?
Um, I think it is essentially the notion that you are one thing one day and another thing another, because you're not. You're the same person the day before.
Could you say that somebody could go from a rookie to a professional in a sport?
Not in one day.
Not in one day, but they could, right?
Sure.
So it's literally
But that's not relating to any kind of like identity.
no, and this is what I've been trying to say. I don't think that these things are related to identity in any way. Some people try to relate them to identity, and that's what I'm saying, like where it causes harm, right? Because people will then start having objective standards for like, oh, like I mean, you see this all the time. People will literally pay for a virgin girl in some other countries, right? Because they think there's a value to it. That part I do.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying is I think virginity is real. Do I think it has value? No. So I think we're in agreement.
So at what point are you not a virgin?
Based on the classical definition or my opinion?
On your opinion.
I mean, if it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's like basically when somebody goes from never having had any sort of sexual experience where, you know, it involves your privates basically, to having had that sexual experience.
So if somebody just inserted the penis once, did you lose your virginity?
Yeah.
What about like an inch of the penis?
Well, it could be a 1-inch penis, right? It doesn't make a difference.
Or let's say half of
Are
it.
those real?
They're literally called micro penises. It's an actual condition.
Sure, but what if it's
guys.
not fully inserted, right? Did you lose your virginity then?
Yeah, I mean, you still had
Yeah, what if it's like on the outside? What if he's just rubbing my vulva?
You still had a sexual experience, but here's the thing. So this is where it gets right. So
what makes it a sexual experience?
You could say you lost your virginity in terms of having had a sexual experience when you haven't had one before. You could say you lost your virginity in terms of penetration. So this is what I'm saying. Like you can use the word itself, virginity, in different ways. So that's why I'm saying, like, you can't say virginity.
I mean, I disagree, because like I gave birth to a son.
Mm-hmm. So that's no longer a novel experience to you. You're no longer
I'm saying that
first before.
a penis came out of my vagina where there
Yeah,
was no sexual context.
for sure. But like, so it's no longer a novel experience to you because now you've given.
I'm giving you an example where something is non-sexual, but certain things have happened that one could deem sexual. So what makes something a sexual experience?
It's sexual in nature. The intent is sexual.
What does that mean?
So what if Kenzie and I have the intent to have sex, but we never do? Did we lose our virginity there?
If you don't actually do it, then of course nothing happened. But I'm saying, like, if you're doing
Like holding hands in a sexual way.
Yeah, what if we kiss in like a sexual way?
Yeah, by the
Like
classical
I'm kissing her like she's my girl, my just a friend. I'm kissing her like she's a girlfriend with sexual intentions. Is that a sexual encounter?
by the classical definition, that you do not lose your virginity in that scenario.
Why not?
At what point do we?
So this is the part where I keep saying, like, it gets subjective. It doesn't change whether the concept of virginity is real. The only thing that
It
changes.
absolutely does.
So that, like I said, the only thing that changes is what constitutes the loss of virginity, and that's going to vary from person to person. I don't think you can put a black on that.
I don't think you can create this kind of objective idea of what virginity is because the action in itself, I don't think is enough. The connotation behind it, I don't think is enough. Like, I don't think there's any kind of qualifiers that you could give that would give me an idea of what virginity is. Because, like Kiara said, if her and I are just friends and I give her a kiss as she leaves my house, there's nothing sexual about that. But if we have a romantic interest and we kiss, there is something sexual about that.
Right.
So is that a sexual experience?
So that's what I'm saying. So there is the classical definition of what sex is. Then it gets even more complex when you start talking about lesbian sex, gay sex, all of these things. That's the part of it that becomes subjective. The part where you went from not having had a particular experience to having one is where a virginity is lost. Now, you could say you lost your virginity in terms of kissing someone, right? Like you popped your kissing cherry, whatever you want to call it, right?
Then it's just getting so confusing.
But before, like, I mean, if like my mom and I had kissed, so I'm not.
Okay, so I think
I'm still a kissing virgin, but if I kiss Kiara in a romantic way, then I'm not.
So this is what I'm saying. Like, it's up to you what you consider that virginity. And like I said, so the state of being naive, innocent, or inexperienced in a particular context is a definition of virginity.
Yeah,
so
but don't you see that you're just running like you're running into this whole blurriness that we're trying to point out since there is no standard, and we can probably put you into more reductios where it's getting like a little like hot between Kenzie and I.
Honestly, you're just appealing to authority because you keep referencing the dictionary, but I've given you a dictionary definition that was from the 1950s that you rejected.
So this is, like I said, so virginity is a concept that applies to all things. But what constitutes virginity loss is absolutely.
Really, you think plants are virgins?
Sorry?
Do you think plants are virgins?
Okay, so like I said, virginity is a concept that applies to many different things. What constitutes virginity loss is absolutely subjective.
What makes someone like what changes? Because again, we just talked about a platonic kiss between me and my mother versus a romantic kiss between me and Kiara. I normally don't like to use the people that are talking in the discussion as examples, but Kiara is up here, and so she's my only exception. And what about that actual action changes anything?
You definitely don't change as a person, right? Like I keep saying,
okay, but what about it changes?
Okay, so this is what I was saying. Like, you just went from having not experienced something ever before to having experienced something before. So it's no longer
what have I experienced?
Whatever the experience was.
What is that? What is that?
whatever the experience was. Like I said, so if you've never ridden a bike and then you ride a bike, you've now experienced riding a bike, and it's no longer a
But you
novel.
realize that we don't have this concept of virginity. That just means something you haven't done.
But I just gave you that definition for virginity.
You gave me a descriptive.
So it says the state of being naive, innocent, or inexperienced in a particular context, and that context can be any context. And then at that point, it's subjective to you to see what constitutes virginity loss or not. That's what I've been telling you the whole time.
So I'm pretty much a virgin for like, let's say 600 sex positions, and I'm not a virgin in all those other positions. Like I don't, I'm sorry. I feel like it's getting like,
I'm a virgin and not drinking the next sip of my drink, and then
yes,
after I will be a virgin. I will not be a virgin in that anymore.
but a virgin to the third sip.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get really down to the minutia of something, you can. It would kind of be weird if you.
Virginity is everywhere. Oh, Belle's coming to yell at me because I gave Kiara, I hit on Kiara and gave her kissy
I
faces.
promise it was a platonic kiss all along. We were just trying to make a point.
Oh, I just came up so you can make your analogies with me instead of Kiara.
I will say it's so funny to me how much Belle and Kiara abandon their men when they talk
Yeah.
about our futures together. Like, Kenzie, we're gonna get married, we're gonna do all these things. I'm like, what about your husband? What about
Kiara,
your
lay the
boyfriend?
fuck off.
Irrelevant.
Wow, you're a little narrow-minded there, Belle. There's like, I don't know if you're a virgin to polyamorous relationships, but
I
that's also a thing.
I mean, I'm a virgin to that as well. Wait, are we
Yeah.
in one? Am I not a virgin anymore? What's going on, you guys?
Yeah, things can get confusing when you start changing the English language.
Wait, but
It's-
am I one or am I not?
English language has changed so many times throughout history. That's so
I
crazy.
think it would just be easier to just not use, like, just to admit that virginity is such a weird concept, and it just
Yeah,
simply
I actually
isn't real.
decided that I'm still a virgin just now. That's all.
You know, I don't think sex counts unless I orgasm. So I haven't had much sex.
Real.
Just
Yeah.
saying.
Which is what constitutes virginity loss is going to be subjective, right? So you can apply this in any way you want, right? You can
Well, it's
just
just not
tell your
real.
is, hey, I've never experienced this before. Now I've experienced it, and then think that
I'm also a born again virgin because my husband's been gone for over 6 weeks now. So I mean
Oh,
that's
fuck
fair.
yourself. It's been a year, almost a year for me.
Well, I mean, he was
I
with
guess I have
Bart
to go
for
fuck
9 months
myself.
last
Just
year.
like
That's
that,
fine
reverse
too.
it.
yeah, but yeah, I think what you guys are doing though is you're saying like you're using it in very minute details and then trying to discredit it by saying like, okay, if I haven't had a Coke before and now I have a Coke, did I lose my Coke virginity? Yeah, like under the classical term of virginity you did, but that's just not what we're discussing, right?
Just
What
sex.
are we discussing?
Well, we're discussing.
No, I just don't think the concept is real. I don't think you can have this definition of not experiencing something and then essentially be able to quantify it as this is what meets an experience. Because, like I talked about, if Belle and I were just friends and I gave her a
Oh,
kiss,
wait.
like we experienced a kiss.
Right there.
1 second, I swear. And then if Belle and I are involved romantically,
Correct.
and we experience a kiss. Like those experiences are different. How can you ever is it the action? Is it the feeling? Is it the mental, the psychological response? Is it the emotional connection? Like by what standard
Could I
is
say I
this
lost my
experience
virginity to
now
my
valid?
vibrator?
So there
What?
Could I say I've lost my virginity to my vibrator?
Ooh, that's a good question.
So this is what I was saying. Like you can't have an objective standard for that because that's the subjective part of it.
So I could?
I don't think you can
If you
quantify it.
decided, yeah. So I'm going to blow your guys' mind. So this
Real.
is on a study.
You know, men say that to me a lot, and it just doesn't happen.
Blowing your
But
mind.
All right, do
yeah,
it. Blow our minds.
But what
I'm excited.
did someone say they would blow your mind? Just so we're clear.
Huh?
Not when I was losing my virginity, which hasn't happened yet. I decided.
It's been a long time.
I mean, it was like I don't even think it was sex at that point. I don't think I would constitute that as sex.
Wait,
Because
what?
if like when I look back how I lost my virginity, I don't think when I look at it that I would call what happened sex. That's not what I think sex is.
I feel a part of my brain doesn't want to acknowledge that my first time was like inherently coercive.
Do you guys want to hear a really funny haha story about my first time?
Absolutely.
Yes.
We double wrapped it. We were so concerned.
You would do something like that.
only to find out that that's not. You should not do that. That actually
Yeah,
can
the
make your
friction makes
condom
it.
break.
Yeah,
Yep.
the friction makes it more.
So do not
Only
be
you
as
have that
dumb as I was.
comprehensive sex education.
I
Carrie,
was
do you
really
think
young.
in German or do you think in English?
I don't know. Actually, that's such a good question.
She doesn't think.
Because what I don't think
She just said she didn't know. I was really confused
I
by that.
really don't know. No, it's actually really funny because whenever I try to think whether or not I think in German or in English, my brain scrambles and I don't know. So I
She
think
doesn't
I
have
do
an
both.
internal dialogue. It's just
no
quiet.
thoughts behind those eyes.
Exactly.
But I still dream in German because I talk in my sleep, and my husband has mentioned that I speak some random German stuff.
That's kind of
That's
scary.
dope.
Oh,
It is scary.
yeah, I'd say it's
I
scary.
think that's really cool. I like it that it like kind of psychologically tortures him and keeps him on his toes.
No, the other night Daniel like got up in the middle of the night, like kind of like scrambled around and like hit the wall, like bad dream type, and then he got up and he stood at the edge of our bed and just said, "Toledo!"
What?
repeatedly. And I was just like, what is going on? What is going on?
Chewy, would you say that like someone who is raped is no longer a virgin?
Oof.
See, I hate that question. Here's why. Because no, I wouldn't. And the reason why I hate that question is because it's painful to admit that somebody would have that as their first experience, because that's just not a good thing, right?
So what quantifies your experience? Is it your emotional well-being? Is it the physical act? Is it the psychological reaction that you have within your again, like tell me what quantifies this?
So that's what I was saying. This is not something that's subjective. It's very much subjective. There's a study here where they talked to a bunch of lesbians and they basically asked them what constitutes losing your virginity. And these were the answers that they basically got. So some said first orgasm, said first orgasm with a woman. Some first time you had good sex with a woman. Some said first time you had sex with anyone. Some said first fingering that results in orgasm. Some said just first fingering. So as you can see, it's like very, very subjective, right?
So maybe it just
quick
shouldn't
poll.
exist.
Wait, quick poll I want to do. Please tell me if you are a woman, happy face if you have had an orgasm from being fingered, sad face if not.
I don't know how you can even do that. Like
I just did the smiley and the sad face poll.
Yeah, no, I mean, how you can have an orgasm from fingering.
I know, that's why I'm like, what? Wait.
I can't even do it myself. Like, I need a
Yeah,
helper.
I mean, I don't even like masturbation with dildos.
No tools.
They don't like orgasming on silicone. It doesn't feel
Oh
good.
no, no. I don't know who still even does
I see
that.
Al in the chat with a smiley face. You go, bitch, you go.
Damn.
You know, more than I expected, but I'm not shocked that the sad face is higher.
I decided
sorry,
I lost my
Chile,
virginity to
continue.
Kenzie when I met her. The first time I spoke to her.
Yeah, lost her Kenzie virginity. There you go.
She just literally took my actual virginity the first time I spoke to her, because that's what I'm deciding my virginity is.
Wait. When is the first time I spoke to you?
Girl.
You don't even remember your first time? That's crazy.
Yeah, it was so long ago.
I remember there was one time I couldn't sleep, so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go stretch in my living room because I thought like my hips were really tight and my shoulders were tight.
And I
And
was
it
in her
was
living
just
room.
and I ended up going live, and it's when I would go live late at night and I wouldn't like necessarily think I need to show my face. I feel like now there needs to be like a face in order to get views. But
Yeah.
I remember Belle joined and was just so annoyed with this pro-choice girl. Like,
Yeah, it sounds like me. I remember the first time I watched you debate. I think it was like
Who was
literally
it?
against. I think it was against Tyler, and I was like, "Who the fuck is this new debate bitch?"
oh
'Cause
damn,
that
was
was
that when he was on that CGI Enterprise live?
Oh yeah, I think so. It was back when like debate talk was like there was not a lot of debaters, and like all the debaters kind of knew each other. So like you showed up, and I was like, "Who the fuck is this?" You know?
Yeah, I think that was my third debate ever.
Oof.
And I had no idea who Tyler was. And I think I only won that because I just didn't respond to his ad homs. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, little boy, whatever you say. And then I would just ask my question again. That's funny because I think that's the first time Naomi, after that debate, I had like 40 comments on my most recent video of like, you crushed him. And it's so funny
I
because
used
he
to love
tells
when
that
that would
he
happen.
bodied me.
It used to
And
happen like all the time. Whenever I would join like random debates, I would get so many comments like under my videos of people being like, "You did so
yeah.
good." Now that doesn't happen
Mhm.
anymore. But that's when like
Yeah,
debates
it
were
doesn't
so
happen.
like not a lot of people did them.
Yeah. Funny. Okay.
Yeah, but I guess I don't know. To me, it just seems like what you've explained to be virginity is just so like incredibly arbitrary that it just doesn't seem to like make sense.
Yeah, so I think like the concept of being experienced or inexperienced in any particular context is virginity, but what constitutes the loss of virginity in the particular context is the subjective part. So it's a very nuanced answer. It's not black and white, basically.
Again, like I just don't like. Are you essentially telling me you can't quantify it?
No, so the concept itself doesn't change. You basically go from a state of inexperience to a state of having experienced the thing.
But you said someone who has been R-worded, it would still be a virgin. So by that standard, they have experienced intercourse.
Yes, yeah.
But you said they would still be a virgin.
No. They would lose their virginity. Yeah, I was just saying I hate that question because it's just you don't want to talk about like someone losing their virginity in that context. It's not a fun topic, right? But yeah, they do lose their virginity in that context.
So it's just the physical action.
So like I said that what you want to consider losing your virginity, you can make that up yourself, 100%. My argument is that you can't say virginity isn't real, but
I certainly can. I certainly can because if you can't quantify what the experience is, then I don't think you have an actual concept.
Well, if quantifying the experience is just whatever the experience was, whether it's riding a bike, whether it's penetration or whatever it is, that's the quantifiable
I
part.
think we could just say like doing something for the first time and not like I just lost my virginity to a bike, you know?
Yeah,
Maybe
I mean,
it's just me.
problem with
Can you lose your virginity to a bike?
I mean if you're one of those people that quantifies
No, I want to
virginity and
ask.
like your
I'm
hymen
asking
popping.
two-way.
Oh.
I
My bad.
do a bike,
Yeah,
definitely not.
why not?
What if I decide that though?
Why not?
What if someone uses a bike?
I mean,
I thought you said it could be whatever I wanted it to
Kenzie,
be.
have you been on Pornhub too much the last few days?
yeah, her mind's getting creative all of a sudden. I don't know what she's thinking.
No,
All
but
of
I
a
thought you said it
sudden,
could be whatever I
wait.
want it to be, so then why could I not lose it to a bike?
That's the thing. Yeah, if you decided that's the case, then
Have you guys watched My Strange Attraction before?
Yeah.
I was just thinking of that, like the dude with the car.
Yeah, what's the craziest strange attraction you've seen?
I think the car guy is
Yeah.
up there. Also the balloon guy.
Was there a dude that would F cars?
Yeah, he'd put it in the exhaust pipe.
Oh my god, okay. So is that guy a virgin? Or not a virgin anymore?
Yeah. So he's definitely if he lost his virginity to a car, you could say under that context.
No, is he a virgin? Has he had a sexual experience?
With cars, no, but with women, yes.
So does it have to be of the
So the
opposite sex?
definition doesn't even need so the definition requires context?
Does it have to be with like a member of the opposite sex or just like another person?
So that's what I was saying at the beginning is that
Wait, you can do it with like inanimate objects?
so that's the thing, right? So it literally says the state of being naive, innocent, or inexperienced in a particular context. And the context in that situation is a car. So that's what I'm saying. Like you doesn't apply to one thing. No.
So he did lose his virginity to the car.
Just to the car, but that's the thing. He didn't lose his virginity.
Okay, so the Chevy took his virginity, but the Ford would not.
No, cars, period. But,
Right. The Chevy was his first,
mhm.
Ford, but the Ford though will always hold a special place. Gotcha.
Real.
Well, it depends on what definition we're using again, because if it's about orgasm again, well, maybe it was the Ford then, after all.
I wonder what he thinks about necro.
Stop.
Necro-
This
Sorry?
is more
Yeah.
of a
No, that's a great
conservative
question.
pro-life
Yeah, what do you think
focus.
about necrophilia?
Oh my god, please, I can't.
What do I think about necrophilia? I don't think it's good.
Could you lose your virginity to a dead body?
That's something you're into, Kenzie?
No.
Should I Phil bro him now?
Do you think it should be legal?
No.
I think it should be. I don't think there should be any.
Why not?
Jail.
There's no moral implications.
Yeah, I think
so reverse as well.
you would have to have a written contract with the person before they died, I think, personally.
Why?
Because here's the thing, you're technically, I forget the word, but it's illegal to basically mess with a dead body, right?
To desecrate a corpse.
Yes.
What's wrong with it? What rights are being violated?
Well,
oh my fucking god.
Inanimate objects can't consent, people. And consent only matters when you're sentient and conscious because it caused psychological harm, which dead people don't have.
But what Bell said is exactly what I was referencing to, and that does fall under that area.
What did Bell say?
What did you say, Belle? I forget the word. It's too hard for me to say.
Oh, desecrating a corpse.
Cadaver is the correct term. Thank you, Sergeant.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
What's wrong with it? I mean, if I found out that for example, let's say my sister died, and I found out that someone went and played with her body, like, you better believe I'm going to go kill that guy.
But what if she stated in her will specifically that she doesn't have any issues with that?
So that's the written contract part that I mentioned.
Okay,
why
but no,
would that change anything for you?
Exactly.
Because you're essentially disrespecting someone's corpse, and if they didn't approve of that beforehand, I think it's kind of wrong, right?
You know, I don't want to argue.
I think that's a breach of contract then.
I don't know. Like, is it wrong to cremate someone when they wanted to be buried?
I would say so, yeah. I mean, like, that's kind of a different thing, but yeah, like, if they want to be buried, bury them all by all means, yeah.
No, we should burn them.
Let's save some space, yeah. And also give up all their organs prior.
It needs to be made into a tree.
I want that, actually. I have that already written down in my will.
You have a will?
Mm-hmm.
Am I in it?
Absolutely, Bill.
Thank you.
You get 99%.
Outstanding.
Why does that bitch get 99%?
Because I know you guys are married after I died.
Yeah.
And then you guys will share that.
So true.
But I actually wonder, do you guys not have a will?
No.
No,
what?
I don't.
I don't either.
You don't have everything written down, like what happens if you get
What,
like...
did you write it in a notebook here, or did you meet with a
No,
lawyer?
with a
I'll
notary.
give all my debt to Daniel. You can have it.
I mean, the things like you go to a notary, and it shows like how you want your
What do you
stuff
have
divided.
here? What do you
I
have?
I don't have much, but I have like a couple insurances in Germany that if something happens to me, right, that my mom and my husband would be beneficiaries. And then I also have like specific like instructions like what happens when I die, like what I want, because I don't want to be buried here in the United States. I haunt you all if you're gonna let me rot in here. And I also don't want to be a vegetable. Like that's another thing. Like if I get in a car
Well,
accident,
that's a living will.
You know, my dad told me like his job provides like if he were to ever die, I would get double his income for like so long as I'm like a beneficiary of his.
Who's his
Which is
beneficiary?
crazy. Like a beneficiary, like I'm a
No,
beneficiary
who
of his
is
so
his
long.
beneficiary? Why is he
Oh, me.
providing us with this valuable information?
He told me about it. Like I would be his beneficiary, and if he were to die, I would
give
get.
this information to you?
Oh, they just like did. He sent me the whole like list of what they offer like beneficiaries, and that was just one of the things. It was also like eye care, or whatever.
Do you have
That
a
was one of
brother?
the things. I do, yeah, but he's not. It's like so long as I'm in post-secondary, I'm a beneficiary of his, and my brother isn't. So.
Oh, I didn't know
But
you were the favorite. That's a shocker.
yeah. But anyways,
Taurus, welcome.
I just thought it's the
Good
kind of
evening.
thing that like I've seen on true crime shows. You know, like kids kill their parents for that.
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't know, this seems dangerous to tell me, but not that I would do anything. But
Got
That was my point.
conscious?
Good evening.
what's up?
Good evening.
Good evening.
How you doing?
I'm very, very well, thank you. How are you all genuinely doing?
We are
Excellent.
I'm doing school stuff right now, so I'm not doing so great. But it's good being around friends. Makes the time go by.
You're not focusing on your schoolwork. Let's not
I
lie.
am. I am. I'm doing it. I'm doing the damn thing.
Are you wanting to debate any of the topics on the board, Conscious?
Well, I'll be honest, I'm not really big on debating people about things because in my mind, when you want to debate, both people are trying to prove each other wrong. I'm more of a fan of trying to have dialectic conversations where we can learn from each other. So I don't want to necessarily be in opposition to any perspectives. I think I would more just like to better understand certain of the things on the board and maybe ask some questions to better understand the intent behind those statements.
Beautifully said.
All right. Questions?
Certainly. So I guess I think I'd like to just just first start, please know I mean no anyone disrespect when I'm asking these questions. I really I'm a big belief that I'm not a big fan of hypocrisy. I really don't. I think that a lot of times in this world, people will make claims or statements that they want to project onto other people and hold them to a certain standard, but they often are okay with double standards in which that can paint it in another person's light, but they're not usually willing to hold themselves to the same level of accountability. And one thing that I've seen a lot of in society is where a lot of people want to take any problems that they see in the world and they want to blame specific groups for their frustrations or for those problems of and my question to you is that I think we could all agree that equality is a good thing. Would that be safe to make that assumption of everyone in the group?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I am a little bit deeper in my expression, so please know I'm not trying to monologue. I'm just trying to formulate my thoughts and articulate them myself and in a very precise way that isn't perceived as being disrespectful. So my thought then is like the one statement that really caught my attention, the statement that said men who want submissive women are weak. So in my mind, I would feel that it's we don't feel that it's respectful to make such negative assumptions of women. So if we truly are fighting for equality, shouldn't we hold that standard to both genders?
It's not holding a standard to a gender. It's determining a characteristic based on an action.
But it's still labeling them in a very negative light based on a preference. So is that not a form of shaming, which I believe a lot of people are fighting against? So I the only reason why I say that is because I feel like a lot of times if it's certain groups of people that have certain perspectives, if they want to look at it towards somebody who they don't agree with, it's not dismissive or
Do you think
demonizing or discriminating. But if it's done in the other way around, they find offense to it. So
do
I'm
you
just
think
I
that
just don't
certain
think that.
preferences can be dangerous?
No, I think they're preferences. I think that when we
Really?
go down that route, what it does is it allows a double standard for one
What
group
if
of people.
what if I have a
Can I please
preference?
finish my thought?
No.
Well, I was just
Yeah, go
looking
ahead.
for more of a yes or no so I can go into my
Well,
point a little bit.
I wasn't finished. Just trying to explain my thought.
Okay,
So
but you
I
asked, and I said no. Kiara, go ahead.
All right. So
wow, that's very sexist.
okay.
It has nothing
So
to do with the fact that you're a man.
so if
I
a
assure you.
man
Well,
has
then
like a
it
preference
just seems kind of
for,
rude.
do you
I don't
think it's
understand why that
That's
would be fair.
do you think it's dangerous
Oh,
for older men to have a preference for young teenage girls?
I knew that was coming.
I think it's dangerous when you are going to single out certain
That's a
groups of
yes or
people
a
and
no.
have standards that are subject to one group of people, not to the other.
That's
I
a
think
yes or a no.
I think it's a double standard, and I think it's hypocrisy. That's the point I'm trying to get at.
Is it healthy for men to want young women as mates, teenagers specifically?
Okay, I think it's unhealthy for any gender, sex, or male or female. But the fact that we focus just on men
Okay,
signs
would
that
you
there's an agenda that
argue
we're trying to
that that
push,
is
and
a
I think that's what I'm
preference?
trying to get at.
Fine.
I think that
Would you argue that that is a preference?
any adult wanting a teenager is dangerous.
Is it
Is
a
that a
preference?
preference?
No, that's not a preference.
What
I
is
think
that?
you're trying to mischaracterize preferences to fit your narrative.
What is that then?
I think that's someone who has issues that they need to deal with. I see preferences as something of what type of character or morality or certain things that the preferences that we as want in partners that they embody. I don't say that as a preference. I see that as more of someone having issues, and I think that doesn't apply just to men. I think that's to any adult wanting a partner that's
We
a
did
teenager.
we did make that
what's the
point.
difference between someone wanting a certain characteristic and having a preference?
I think
Because couldn't I argue that a characteristic is a behavior?
I think that it's problematic when you want to paint one gender as negative, but not willing to do that, and you're only going to selectively pick things that you can twist to fit a narrative. If you were holding
That didn't
across
answer
all
my
gender,
question.
then I would think it's probably more fair.
That didn't answer my question.
No, I know, but the only questions you're going to ask are controlling the narrative that you
Taurus,
want.
I
I'm
think
trying
you
to
don't
make
understand what Kenzie is trying to get at. Like, I feel like we can assess certain social phenomena and make social assessments, right? And then we can see that there's certain preferences that are more prevalent in men, and we can point out that dangerous preference that they have and the negative outcomes. We're not
Well,
saying that every single woman is now safe from having negative preferences. Like, no, we can definitely point out to those as well. But we're trying to get at the deeper issue, which would be the patriarchy and what that.
I would agree.
It would,
But
which
I
you
think
know, what that would.
what I'm
Oh,
trying to
I'm
get at.
sorry, but I wasn't done with my thought. That is awfully hypocritical of you.
So when you
Thank you
interrupt
very
me,
much.
it's okay. But if I
Yes.
engage in the same matter, it's going to go through.
Anyways, so
Okay,
we're
so
trying.
just so we're allowed to hypocrisy. Okay, that I know how the rules are played.
I was
All right,
pointing
I will
out
play
your
by the rules.
hypocrisy.
bro, it's
No,
literally
you
you
said
doing
you
the
hate
hypocrisy.
hypocrisy. So
I know.
regardless of the rules that I set within your own moral framework, you would abide by your own, which is to not be hypocritical.
You're right. I don't want to be. I'm just trying to clarify for
Then
if we
you
can all
shouldn't
abide by it.
interrupt her.
No, I'm pointing out the hypocrisy that when I'm interrupted, it's not a problem, but if I do it, it's good. I don't want to interrupt her at all, and I'm
I
sorry that I
wasn't
did.
complaining about
I'm
it.
just
You were
pointing out the
complaining about
hypocrisy
it.
of the
No,
standards.
you are being a hypocrite by saying
Because
because
I'm
she
pointing out the
interrupted
hypocrisy.
me, even though I don't like when people interrupt, I'm now going to interrupt her.
No, I acknowledged
That's what
I
you
didn't
just
mean
did.
to interrupt her.
That's what you
I
just
thought
did.
she was done speaking. That was not intentional.
She
But
literally
the point I'm trying to make
didn't even
is I
talk.
acknowledged I wasn't trying to, but when I was interrupted, you were okay with it. So I'm just saying, I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt her. I honestly thought she was done speaking. But the point is that when people try to bring out on
But
either
that's
the
your second response.
hypocrisy, people want to deflect any responsibility for their part of it, but they want to hold the
Why
person
don't
who they
you
don't agree with
attack the
to it.
premise rather than try and like attack the fact that I'm saying men who want women to submit to their authority are weak? Like what
Okay,
is that?
all right.
What issue do
So
you have with
my
that?
response to that is that when men want a woman to be submissive to them, they're also expecting to be submissive to their partner in the same manner. And the narrative that paints that men want to control men and women because they want a partner that's submissive to them, just like they would be submissive to their female counterpart, I think twists the logic and pushes a very anti-male rhetoric, which doesn't bring men and women together.
How
And that's
much
all. I think
harm
that's dangerous, personally.
how much harm has occurred for men being submissive to women?
Well, I think just as much as harm as the other way around. I think you want to paint a narrative
Do
that's
you
Really?
have any empirics on that?
one leaning. I think that's dangerous, personally.
Do you have any
I don't think
empirics
that
on that?
brings men and women together. I think that
Do
perpetuates fear.
you wait? Do you agree that there is a patriarchy?
No, I don't.
You don't.
No, I don't. I think it's a lot of propaganda. I think it fuels division. I think it manipulates us to fight amongst ourselves. And I don't think it brings men and women together. In fact, I think it causes more problems
What
because
kind of
it's being
society
taught.
do we live in?
So I'm sorry, say that again.
What kind of society do we live in?
Right now, we live in a very broken society.
Well, if it's not patriarchal, what is it?
What is your envision of what a patriarchal society looks like?
Here, can I
Essentially, a
give you a
patriarchal society is one that is inherently led and the power is dominated by men, as well as that masculine characteristics are seen as inherently valuable.
can I give him a
Okay,
multiple
So it's
choice?
one where
that's not how
Hold on, wait.
men have created the systems and structures in order to maintain power over women.
okay. So
Hold on,
what
wait.
if I
Hold on,
simply
wait. Can
suggested?
I really quick?
1 second, Kiara. I'd like him
Oh,
to respond.
That wasn't me.
I want him to
So
answer your first question. I was gonna give him a
1
multiple
second, Mel. I
choice.
wanted to respond to that.
so please know I'm sorry if I interrupted you. It wasn't intentional. I apologize. I honestly
Right.
thought you were done speaking. What I would like to say is I'm a big advocate of bringing men and women together. So when
No,
I
I want you
see,
to respond to my statement.
I know I'm trying to formulate
No,
it in
you're
the
not.
best way
You're
I
just
can.
grandstanding.
I'm trying to give you the premise. So if you want me, if I would like to address it, but if you're going to dictate how I address it, then that's not wanting an authentic response from me.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm a big proprietor or supporter of men and women coming together. So when I see propaganda that divides us and paints both genders in a very negative light against the other, I ask myself, who really benefits from that? Who
So
benefits
that
the most to keep us
completely that
divided and fighting amongst ourselves?
completely
My
did
question.
not address anything I said.
Then rephrase the question. I apologize. Could you please
Can I give
rephrase
it
it?
to
So
him?
you asked me what a patriarchal system looks like, and I told you where it was structure, where it was systems, structures, and societal ideas, to where men are now able to possess power over women and
Okay.
control the outcomes of their lives.
Okay, that's fair.
Whether
That's
that
fair.
is
Okay, so my response to that is if we truly lived in the patriarchal society that which you've described, then that would mean that women would not have the dare or have the wherewithal to ever voice against it, because any place where people are oppressed, they're too afraid to voice, let alone stand up, because there will be blowback from it. So if we truly lived in a patriarchal society, women would not have the gall to ever stand up. So I don't think we truly live in a
That's
patriarchal
not
society the
true.
way you depict it.
That's not true. Just because an oppressed group of people is actually able to stand up against their oppressor does not mean that they're not oppressed.
Okay. Are you familiar with the grievance study?
No.
Can we actually look
So
at like
there was a
actual
study.
examples of that, like people that were like in plantations rising up against
So
their
there was
slave owners? Were they like not oppressed because they weren't
there
afraid
was
to
a
rise up?
study done
Right.
by 3 people in academia. They were all liberal leaning, right? It was 2 men and a woman. I believe the men were from England and the woman was from, I always get it mixed up, but it was called the Grievance Study. They were all liberal leaning and they wanted to prove how radically ideologically driven academia had become. So they wrote a series of hoax papers. You can actually watch the interview on YouTube with them and they go into more depth. The one paper that I'm going to speak about is they wanted to push the envelope as far as they could just to see how radically driven people would be willing to go along with it. So they tried to get a paper published with a feminist journal. And the feminist journal actually loved the paper. In the peer review, they only had one critique. They felt that the paper's depiction of the oppressee and how it responded to the oppressor was far too tame and not severe enough. Okay, that's fair. But what they didn't realize is the people who wrote the paper took excerpts from Hitler's Mein Kampf, took all the references to Nazis and Jews out, and replaced them with modern feminists, social justice, gender ideology, and progressive buzzwords, but left the underlying ideology there. So they, unbeknownst to themselves, were saying that Hitler was far too tame with how he felt it should be dealt with his and the people that agreed with them perceived oppressor. So historically speaking, when the people in power can convince any population that, hey, this is your scapegoat, and they can demoralize them to the point to see those people as dehumanized, they are often willing to go along with any atrocious acts to have the ends meet the justification because they have been conditioned to hate their fellow countrymen and countrywomen based on propaganda. And historically, you see
Objection
how this plays
relevance.
out. So when you see the division in countries happening and you ask yourself, who are the people that benefit from this divisive division, which allows us to be conquered because we're not standing together and putting our differences aside, it's the global elites. They've done it throughout history. It happened in Nazi Germany.
Okay,
It's happened in many
I'm gonna
places.
stop you there because I feel you've gone on a tangent that completely did not address what I was saying. I understand that you're saying that people that with the grievance study, that essentially what would be considered and upheld by liberal people as valid studies were accepted without any kind of criticism. But that doesn't have any kind of bearing when it comes to me presenting to you that we live in a patriarchal society. Do
Okay.
you agree
It does
that
in a sense.
women
I would
have
like
been
to address some of
excluded?
that.
1 second, almost finished. Do you
Sorry, I
agree
apologize.
that women have been excluded from certain parts of society, whether that is the economic market, whether that is the educational programs, and essentially controlled historically by men in power,
Okay.
or even their
So
husbands?
Okay, so I would like to address that. One, no, I don't believe that's the case. I think both men and women face their plights, but I think the very fact that people are so willing to buy into that propaganda without even doing any research and they just take it as face value, it does correlate how
What is the
populations have
reality?
been. Please let me finish. I let you finish.
No.
I'm
You
just
said men
saying.
and women. So this is the issue that I have within
I'm
this
giving you an
discussion.
answer, just not the
No,
answer that
1
you like.
second.
So
This is the issue
I'm
that
not.
I have within this
Can I
discussion
please
is
finish?
I feel that I ask you very direct questions and then
And
you
I'm
kind of
answering
just
the
go off
question.
on irrelevant tangents.
So I feel like you don't like it when I'm not giving you the answer that you want. You asked me a question and I'm trying
It's
to
not
answer it the
the
best way
answer
I
that
can.
I
So if
want.
it
It's
doesn't
that
fit
you're
the
not
narrative that you
staying
want,
on
it feels like
topic.
you want to shut it down. But this is on topic. It's relevant. You just don't like because you can't argue the relevance to it. So you have to bring it back to fits your narrative. And I'm
I
trying to
have
address
no
what you're
problem
saying.
arguing relevance. I think you just kind of derail the conversation, which is why
No, I'm
you're using
correlating
things
it
like
with what you're asking.
propaganda.
I'm correlating with what you're asking. And I said, no, I do not believe that. I
Really?
think both
What
men and
have
women
you
face their
addressed
plight.
at all when I've talked about a patriarchal system?
I'm saying I think it's propaganda and I think you've been played.
Really?
I think that
So women could own bank accounts and property in the 1950s.
you're going to go to any talking points that you can twist the narrative, which is
I'm
not
just
actually.
asking you, is that true or
You're
not?
trying to twist aspects of history to fit a
No,
certain narrative when the
I'm
reasons
asking
behind
you
certain
because you
things
seem to
are
have this
not why
enlightened
you want
idea
to
of
look
what
at
is
it.
true. Tell me, is that true? Could women have their own bank accounts and their own property outside of marriage without a man in the 1950s. Is that something that I am misunderstanding?
No, I don't. I believe that there's truth to that, but the reasons
There
behind
is
it.
truth to that.
Would you please let me respond? What I'm saying is, I feel like you're going to ask questions that you only want an answer that supports your narrative. There are facts to some things historically of what you're saying, but the context of it has been distorted to fit a narrative. That's all I'm saying.
What context am I missing here?
I feel like, respectfully, when people are led to believe propaganda that fits a certain narrative, they're only going to believe things that support that. So you don't have to agree with me. I'm not saying you have to agree with me. I'm just saying, if you're only going to believe the narrative that the people in power are telling you, you're always saying we can't trust people in power.
I don't feel
Let me finish.
like, I don't know why you think that what I think has come from people in power.
Because where do you think the propaganda of how society is shaped comes from?
Why do you think I'm the information that the opinions I have are propaganda?
Because in my mind, any bit of any narrative that
thank you.
From my perspective, critical thinking would determine that any narrative that pins men and women against each other is not coming from a good place. So when we are willing, men or women are willing to believe any narrative that pins us against each other, you have to ask yourself, is there someone that benefits and might be manipulated?
That kind of rhetoric has been used.
This just seems completely incoherent to me. This just seems completely incoherent to me that essentially I can't have any kind of critical analysis when it comes to how society is structured and how it conducts itself to show that there are power imbalances that favor certain demographics of people over other demographics of others.
I think you want to believe
that kind of thinking pits people against each other.
I think that you want to fit a narrative that allows someone else to be a scapegoat. And it's easy to go along with it because that alleviates personal accountability.
Scapegoating?
And anybody on either side that's willing to believe the propaganda that's taught to men against women or the other way around, what it does is alleviates us of personal accountability of ourselves and lets someone else be the scapegoat. So anytime men or women are willing to go along with that, they're being played. If you're being taught that a political ideological movement, you need it to be empowered, they're lying to you because they need you. It's not the other way around.
This is so incoherent.
From a critical thinking standpoint, and not looking at it from a wanting to pin each other against each other. That's all.
This rhetoric has been used back then for many other social issues. And you realize that. Because it's funny that you bring up Mein Kampf and all that, even though you're bringing up pretty much talking points that have been used by white supremacists to keep Black people under.
Wow, there's the virtue signaling as the response.
That's not a critique of her statement.
We have to use weaponized fake virtue signaling to be the rebuttal of every response.
That wasn't virtue.
I'm sorry. What did I do differently than you did? Hold on. I really want to know I want to know what I did differently than what you did.
Well, I just think the whole woke ideology uses that the basis of its arguments. And it's not looking at it.
No, sorry. That's not really addressing my question.
I think
what exactly? I'm going to ask you again, and you can try again. You can try again. It's okay if you didn't get it the first time. We'll try again. What exactly did I do differently than you?
Nothing. You didn't do anything differently. I think the only person.
So what is your critique then? What is your critique then? Are you criticizing yourself then as well? Are you holding yourself to the same standard?
I'm answering a question.
All right, go ahead.
The only person here who I haven't seen feed into this is the gentleman in the bottom corner. So what I'm saying is that when weaponized virtue is the response to every rebuttal, only regurgitating propaganda that divides us, you're being played. And if you want to be manipulated, you can do that. But
I don't understand how you think because we had recognized that there are divisions based on certain characteristics that people have, that's divisive.
No, I think your need to focus on those things as the pivot for as the whole crux of your argument is what we
What
can't
does
have
that
a look at
even
a bigger
mean?
picture of how
What does
society's
that
been
even
manipulated
mean?
over all of civilization to fit the people in power. So you're talking about power structures. I agree with that. But the problem is that historically, the people in power.
CE, thank you very much for your Cash App donation. CE did no longer want to hear from that gentleman. Appreciate you.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I understood what he was trying to say. I just don't think he was able to convey what he was saying. Plus, he brought in way too many things that had nothing to do with the point. So,
Okay, what was he trying to say?
I think what he was trying to say is that you might have cognitive bias in terms of like you're looking for things that suit your argument. But the thing
Okay, what?
tangent, and he wasn't able to explain how. So I don't know. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Like I said, I think I understood the gist of what he was trying to get at, but he just didn't convey it in a way that I can like just straight up say what he actually wanted to say.
Well, I think that's really lacking of critical analysis because, again, I've made a lot of concessions to where I don't agree with certain ideologies of feminism. If we look, like Kira and I have talked about this, we're anti-porn, but we're very much pro-sex, which I think there are certain sects of feminism to think that you can't be anti-porn and pro-sex. I think also that feminism does need a space for men because, again, I do think we need to recognize that the patriarchy has created structures that are inherently harmful for men, especially making them the arbiters of violence. I think that creates very dangerous mental health for them. And I think we do need to create a space in feminism because I don't think segregation and isolation of a certain characteristic is helpful for anybody.
Yeah.
But can I recognize that there are barriers and that there are certain ideologies that people are upholding that create unequal power structures and divisiveness? That doesn't make me divisive. Like, give me a fucking break. That was just incoherent word salad.
And he didn't even ask for any empirics, like how we come to the conclusion that there is a social imbalance between men and women. That wasn't even like if you were to ask me, how can I determine that as a feminist? Then I can point you to several aspects in society that are empirically proven to have a negative outcome for women that is created through the patriarchy. For example, in the healthcare field, we can see in purity culture, our work culture, and we can also see it in certain laws, right, that are put in place, like Roe v. Wade.
Hello.
You know, there's so many things. Oh, hi there.
So, I want to address the last point. Men who want submissive women are weak. So, I want to follow this up with a question. So, are you calling all men in the BDSM community weak, or just outside of that community?
Sorry, what is your question?
I said, are you calling all men, and that's including men within the BDSM community, weak for wanting a submissive woman, or are you excluding the BDSM community?
It's not in
I
reference to
think
kinks, I don't think.
it's not necessarily reference to kings, I believe. Like, I don't want to speak for Kenzie, but I think that even within the BDSM community, we can acknowledge that there can be certain dangers portrayed for women, specifically being socialized in a certain violent position. I'm not sure if we have to talk about that aspect, though. We can more talk in a more general sense.
So, again, I follow that up with: are we excluding that community, or are we including it?
We can include that community. I don't mind having critiques on that community. I don't think that there's anything wrong inherently with consensual adults participating in a relationship, but I also would like to point out to certain dangers that can occur through that consensual or in I wouldn't even say that we can call it pure consent because it can be due to socialization and it can be through coercion, etc., which can like pose certain dangers to those women.
So, my girlfriend is submissive to me. Me and her both are part of the BDSM community,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a consent between the both of us, and there's actually a what we call a light system or a safe word. If
Okay.
something is pushed too far, then it's green light is you're good, you're okay. Yellow light is you're reaching my limits. Red light is all stop. Or if our safe word is spoken, it's an all stop aftercare immediately, no
Mm-hmm.
matter what was going on. And she is very submissive to me within the bedroom. Now,
Okay.
outside of that, we both play an equal part in the relationship.
Yeah, I think it sounds to me that you have like a lot of tenets of informed consent, and a really healthy outlook that you understand that there are limits within a relationship, that you would never cross those boundaries, etc. And you're also aware that it can pose dangers to your girlfriend if you wouldn't honor those boundaries, and that aftercare is essential and communication. So I don't really necessarily see an issue, but then again, I can't like look inside of your relationship. But I just know that there are some issues within the BDSM community, specifically for submissive women.
Right, and I do know there are those
Okay,
specific issues, and that is something that does need to be talked about. That is
okay,
something
good.
that needs to be covered of consent, you know, safe word.
Why is she submissive to you?
Um, it's just something, when I told her I was within that community, she had told me she was more dominant with women. She's bisexual, she's more dominant with women, but more submissive to men. And I'm really the first one she's been submissive with, 100%, because one, we set up a safe word, we set up our limits, both of our limits on what we're okay with and what we're not okay with.
Do you think
And the
that's
fact
rooted
that
in misogyny?
that isn't misogyny, because it is a mutual consent between the both of us, something that we both talked about before even moving further into um our relationship. That's one of the first few points we covered.
Regardless if it's consensual or not, I think that certain actions can be very much rooted in misogyny. Because I would argue that she is a dom sub switch as a bisexual. And it's interesting to me that when it comes to her engaging in relationships with other women, she has the need to be dominant over other women. But when it comes to engaging in relationships with men, there is a desire to be submissive. Because those, I would argue, are essentially viewed as masculine and feminine traits as a result of the patriarchy. So I can also acknowledge that if we look at the corn industry within our society, there was a study done that analyzed over 300 different corn films that found 89% of corn media promotes violence against women. So I can very much say that these kinks or that these preferences are rooted in an ideology to where men are superior and need to be dominant and hold power, and that women are to be submissive and meek and submit to the authority of men.
But then, we're also going to cover so with that, yes, that can be conceived as misogynistic, but on the same side of that, or the flip side of that coin, is not only is she submissive with me, she can be dominant with me too, and I'm okay with it.
Okay.
And it's an equal in the bedroom. Even in the bedroom, it's an equal part. Yes, mostly she is submissive with me, but there are times where she's like, "Hey, I want to be dominant," and that's where I have my safe word. Where if I speak my safe word, it's all stop. Nothing further is pushed.
Yeah,
And
I mean
same
that
with her
sounds good to
is
me. I don't know. I really
Yeah, and just equal
I don't have.
opportunity.
Yeah, I think if you can communicate that, and also like realize, as you said, that there's like certain like trauma, for example, can play into that as well. And I think that's something that needs to be worked on, and I don't think you should take advantage of people that have experienced trauma and are therefore maybe in a more submissive or dominant position. I think that is definitely something that should be looked at separately, because I don't think you can give full consent if you have been traumatized prior, which made you a certain way.
Right, and it's all about communication between both parties. You know, it's I suffered this. This is my trauma. This is what I've suffered, and yes, it's easier said than done than to talk about trauma. But when you're comfortable with your partner or your spouse, however you want to word it, um, it's a little easier if you're comfortable with them saying, "Hey, I'm not okay with this. This is the trauma that is what what happened and is why I'm not comfortable with this specific actions."
Hello, welcome. Hello. I just wanted to say, in regards to like body count shouldn't matter and all of that stuff, like, it's just like so much deeper than like surface level of just sleeping around with people. And this is coming from someone who like I've had like 20 to 30 like sexual partners. And at the end of the day, like it took me finding Jesus for me to step away from that. And one thing that he revealed to me was that when you sleep with someone, you are marrying them in the spirit, meaning that your flesh and their flesh become one. So if they have
When did you find Jesus?
when did I find Jesus? I actually was like,
Oh, where?
where?
Where was he?
In my room.
Yeah.
In my room,
He was in
literally.
your room? That's
In
kind of
my
creepy.
room, like literally in my room when I was like about to unalive myself.
Were
And
you sleeping?
no, I wasn't sleeping when I actually first recognized that it was his voice. But can I keep going on regards to like what he revealed to me? So
No, you're not just gonna come on here and preach. If you want to have a conversation and engage with talking points, that's one thing. But if you're just gonna come on here and preach about some kind of self-righteous morality that you
I was
discovered and shame people for certain things, then no, I have no interest in fucking
share,
engaging.
I was just gonna share the like full like what he told me as far as like what is like really going on
I don't care. I don't care.
Oh, okay. Well, in regards to that, basically, I just want to say that when you sleep with someone, you form an agreement with them and you're agreeing to take their demons. So whatever demons they have, they become yours, whether it's anxiety,
So
depression.
no. That is the dumbest thing
You
I've
don't
heard today.
accept it, boo. You could kick me. I don't really care, but it's the truth. And I'm going to speak that, whether
Right.
you like
If you
it or
don't
not.
care,
So just
then
know that
if you want to say, "Oh, go ahead and kick me," as some kind of like power move, like you're oppressed, like
I'm like
that doesn't do anything for me.
me if
It's
you
just the fact that you're kind of trying to steamroll this conversation rather than engaging in any actual dialogue. That's what it's it for me. And you're gonna come in here and talk about
condescend.
Jesus and demons
So,
as if that's based in some kind of objective reality.
well,
You realize that
whether
purity culture
you looked
is
around,
so ingrained
if
within
you
Christianity as a way to control you, right?
if you look, well, guess what? You want to know what
No,
controlled
answer my
me?
question.
You want to know what controlled me? I'm answering it.
Answer my question.
No. But you want to know what
So,
controls?
purity culture is not a part of Christianity?
I'm talking about that's not controlling you. It's God
It
protecting you.
absolutely is.
It's God,
No, it absolutely is.
it's
Can you
God.
tell me what the purpose of sex is? Why human engage in sexual interactions?
They engage to give birth, to birth the child. That's why they engage.
Is that it? Is it just the one?
And pleasure too with your husband.
Okay. And pleasure? Anything else?
That's basically it, honestly.
So, if we look at this from a sociological and a humanistic aspect, humans engage in intercourse for the biological function of procreation, for psychological well-being, and for socialization.
It's
And so,
well-being.
sorry?
Um, make you well if you sleep with someone, and
No.
then
1 second. I promise. I will give you the space to speak as long as you engage productively and not just come on here and do sermons and preach because that doesn't help anybody. So when it comes to these three aspects, if we look at purity culture does not take into account anyone's psychological well-being and socialization. Because when you look at how people interact socialize with each other when it comes to purity culture, there are very harmful behaviors that people interact in. Because they want to engage in sex, they will therefore get married too quickly. They will overlook red flags. They will engage with certain people who can be abusive and not actually emotionally fulfilling. They will have an inexperienced dating perspective. They will typically be exploited by someone who is more experienced than them, and also leveraged within a power dynamic. Thank you, Parker, for the Parker rating. So we can see that these have inherent harms within society, which is ultimately why a lot of Christian sects abuse children.
Okay, so what I have to say in regards to that is, a lot of people say I'm a Christian, but they don't actually know Jesus. And I didn't find Jesus in the church. I found him literally calling on him in a low point of my life. And I know him, meaning I can go to my father and ask him if this guy is right for me before I give my body to him, because I have a relationship. That's what people are missing when they just claim a religion, and then they struggle with lust and all of that stuff because
What
they
do you
have.
mean by a father? Do you mean by like a priest?
No, I'm talking about Jesus is God and God is my father and he's with me and
Oh,
he
so
got
you're talking about Jesus. Jesus tells
Jesus.
you if this is a good
Absolutely.
guy or
Jesus
not.
Christ that took the cross, that man.
Can you tell me, like, do you believe in the Trinity?
No, I do not believe in the Trinity. Jesus is God. The Holy Spirit is God. 3 different parts of one God.
Hmm.
I don't.
So essentially, Jesus tells you
At
who
the end
you should marry.
relationship, we all hear from Jesus, whether we acknowledge him or not. That's totally us. You hear from Jesus. You probably just don't even realize that's Jesus because the world wants you to not believe that is Jesus. They want you to
No,
believe in all
Jesus
this
doesn't exist.
theology and science and all that stuff as a distraction. In reality, your intuition is Jesus. That small voice that tells you don't talk to him, and then you do it anyway.
No.
He ends up breaking your heart. That's Jesus. He speaks to all of his children. Some people can't hear him though because
Girl,
hold
I
on.
don't know how many times I have to tell you. You're not just going to come on here and preach.
Sorry, my bad. It's just when I
Oh,
get started with
did
the
Jesus tell you about consent?
does Jesus tell me about consent? What do you mean in regards
Yeah.
to that?
Has Jesus taught you about what consent is?
I'm fully aware what consent is.
So when people tell you you're not going to come on my platform and just preach, and then you come on their platform and just preach and not engage, are you not understanding that you're violating their consent?
It's a vessel, okay? When the Holy Spirit starts going through me and moving through me and using me as a vessel, then I can't really
That's
control.
what she said. All right.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll try my best to I'm trying my best here. That's why I was saying if you want to kick me, then that's
Right,
fine because
I don't really
I can't
like.
stop it.
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that this is your best. But if Jesus taught you about consent, I think that you would be a little bit more considerate
To
about. I'm sorry, what?
to Jesus, yes, I am totally obedient to Jesus when he tells me to shut up, when he tells me to talk, when he tells me not to. As far
That
as
sounds like a really abusive relationship.
well, he has the best. He has intentions to prosper me, not to harm me. I look for 26
I
years
don't
in the world.
know.
Let's look for 26 years of my life. I was out here in the world. Like I said, I had 20 to 30 sexual partners. Don't miss that. I had the
You're
same
unsure?
you. I had the same beliefs as you
Wait,
that it
wait. You don't
matter.
know? You don't know how many partners you've had?
Not exactly. No, I stopped counting
Why?
after a while.
Why can't Jesus tell you? Doesn't he
Um,
know?
he does. It doesn't matter. I look. I'm born again. Like that doesn't matter. It's behind me. But I can say that it was 20 to 30. Now, if I sat here with a pen and
Wait,
a pad,
wait, but wait.
if I
When
sat
did you
here
touch
with a
him?
pen and a pad and actually wrote it out, then I could figure that out. But at the end of the day, I don't care to. It's behind me. But 20 to 30, it might be
If it doesn't
24.
matter, then why did you change your behavior?
It doesn't. It matter because I know that I literally was trying to tell you this in the beginning, but
Oh,
you
I'm
just.
excited. Let's hear it.
At the end of the day, when you marry someone in the spirit, meaning you guys have sex, because literally you don't have to stand before an altar to marry someone. It's literally when you're intimate with them. And that's probably why when you sleep with someone, you literally feel an attachment to them. So when you are intimate with someone, 2 fleshes become one.
Wait. I wanna unpack that a little bit. So if someone is sexually assaulted, they have a form an attachment to their assaulter.
They married that person in the spirit. It's sad, but
Wow, really? You're gonna say that when someone is raped,
they married
that
someone.
they have married their rapist in spirit?
Literally, I'm sorry, it's not as scientifical as you want it to
No, no,
be.
wait. I just want to understand your opinion. I want to make
Uh,
sure I'm not misrepresenting you. Is that correct?
Absolutely, that's
I see.
correct. That's
So God and Jesus, or God slash Jesus, doesn't care about consent.
when that happens. At the end of the day, you
That's a
marry.
yes or no.
It's
That's a
what
yes or no. God and Jesus does not care about consent.
absolutely does care about consent.
Really? Because according to God or Jesus, even if consent isn't there, you're still married.
It's just the fact, my love. It's just the fact that when you are intimate with someone, you become married to them in the spirit. Now, is he going to say, "Oh, you're married to them in the spirit," and you
But
can?
God
Okay.
created that structure, correct?
Is he going to say you're married in the spirit and you always have to be married to
Look,
that person?
I'm asking you very simple questions. Did God create that structure?
God absolutely did create that structure.
Yeah,
That's why.
so how can you tell me that God cares about consent when they created a structure that marries spirits together when consent isn't present?
Well, I was trying to get to that point, my love. So, in regards to that, when you marry that person in the spirit, because being intimate with them makes you married in the spirit, you can go to Jesus and he will literally break the yoke that is formed. So,
You will
Jesus,
break the what?
back to Jesus,
You will break the yolk
the
that is
yoke,
formed?
the yoke.
Like an egg yolk?
Basically, the connection that's formed, yes, that's what I'm saying. At the end of the day, that'll be separated. You
Do
might
you
not,
have to have the other person's consent to break the yolk?
all you need is Jesus.
All you need is Jesus.
That's correct. All you need is Jesus.
Jesus is king or Jesus is daddy?
Jesus is my everything. And I
Your
hope it's
everything.
yours because I didn't like,
Girl, I
no,
feel you trade one abuser for another.
at the end of the day, you can say that if you want, but I know what I know.
It
Just like
doesn't seem like a healthy relationship. I don't think a
you're,
power
you,
dichotomy
you want
between you and God is healthy.
I was doing what you're promoting on this live, I was actually really low. I had daddy issues. I was like drinking
Girl,
myself
I think you still have daddy issues.
drugs. And at the end of the day, do you want to know something? Jesus made it so I didn't need any of that. And I'm completely sober at this time. When I used to live out
Well,
in the
Jesus
world,
just
literally
became
trying to
daddy.
party and
How's
spit
that?
attention, because at the end of the day, all of this that you're promoting, all it does is just give you an outlet and something to escape the reality of trauma that you went through, whether it was from your
Oh,
father,
really?
what. It's all literally just
What is my wait? So I'm trying to escape the reality of my trauma. That's interesting. What what specifically? Can you give me anything
well,
specific?
for me, it was like daddy issues. I had daddy issues, which I
No,
couldn't.
no, for me.
For you, I'm not gonna sit here
Yeah.
and like I know you, but it could be
Well,
daddy.
but you just said that though. You said I'm on here and that I have these opinions to
That what
escape
you're
some kind of reality of
I
trauma.
said what you're promoting. That's what
What
it's
I'm
doing.
promoting.
From
What
the
what am I promoting?
what you're promoting is like body count matters and or doesn't matter and all that stuff. Like that's
Correct.
basically what you're saying. And
Correct.
just
I
like
I don't think
be
correct. So
sexual
when I say one second,
on.
I promise you'll get the chance to talk. When I say body count shouldn't matter, it's because we have this, especially Christians like yourself, have this
I'm a
ideology that abstaining from sex somehow makes you morally virtuous. And it's not only, so I think it's interesting that you called yourself a born again Christian, which I think is a very popular rhetoric within Christianity because they've seen, one second, I promise you'll get to talk. I think they've seen the benefits of essentially creating like a second virginity. Because when you are a virgin, essentially, and when I say virgin, like you are someone who hasn't had any type of sexual experience, you don't have to do anything. You just have to maintain that. And if you don't complete any action, then you essentially are moral and virtuous and good. But when you have this second virginity, then essentially you are abstaining from an act that you previously committed, which makes you moral and righteous and good. And I would argue that someone who doesn't engage in sex has no more morality than someone who does engage in sex. it's a very vapid concept, because then you're not essentially evaluating any other behaviors and any other ideas of what makes someone good and loving and considerate.
But I'm not saying that you're immoral because you're being intimate with someone. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that it's deeper than just not doing it. Like some believers will say, "Oh, just don't do it because it's bad." But there's a meaning why it's called immoral. It's literally a harm to yourself. It says it in the Bible that it's more of a sin to yourself because you are dishonoring your
Wait.
temple by
So you're saying I'm not doing something bad,
basically
but
what I'm
then
saying.
one second, I just want to make sure I understand. You just said I'm not saying that because you have sex, you're doing something bad. But when you have sex, you are sinning.
What I'm saying.
Did I misunderstand?
What I'm saying. See, you keep cutting me off, and that's like
Well,
really good
because you
and all
say
that
a
stuff.
lot.
But I
You
did
say
not
a
even
lot
say
in a
that.
very short amount of time, and I want to make sure that I clarify what you're saying so that I can continue to follow the conversation.
So, gotcha. So, what I am saying that is a sin to yourself more than anything. Jesus will forgive you. He still loves you. At the end of the day, what I'm saying is it's a sin to yourself more than anything because
What
you
does
are
that mean?
becoming
It's a sin
okay.
to myself.
Well, if you let me keep going, I will say it. Like I'm
Well,
getting
I
to
just
that.
understand. What does that mean? A sin to yourself?
Well, I'm going to explain how it's a sin to yourself more than anything in
Well,
just one moment.
what is a sin to yourself? Can you just define that for me?
A sin to yourself is doing harm to yourself. It's harming yourself. It's harming you. That's a sin to yourself.
So
Like it harms you more than it
essentially
harms Jesus.
you are saying that someone who engages in sex
It's harming themselves. Absolutely.
is harming themselves.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm ready. Keep going.
Okay, so why I say that it's a sin to yourself, meaning that you're harming yourself, is because when you sleep with that person, you marry them in the spirit. That means that you make it a form of covenant with them. You make an agreement to take on any demons that that person may have. So you know what, like sociology, scientists, and all that stuff, mental illness, psychology, they all say that demons, like they say that the anxiety and all
So
that stuff,
what
depression.
demons do you have?
What demons do I have? Oh,
Yeah,
I
I
had
mean
a
you must.
lot of them.
I
I
mean,
had
if
a
you
lot of
have
them.
30, if you have 20 to 30 bodies,
Oh,
I don't know how many demons do each person carry? Like
probably
just on average, just on average.
that was probably why I was ready to unalive myself. I had like really bad anxiety.
I mean, you
I
still have them.
like no, I don't. At the end of the day, I don't have
Oh
anxiety.
wait, because Jesus broke the yoke.
Yeah, yes. Hey, you're getting it, girl.
Wow.
You're getting it.
And
Exactly.
again, when you say Jesus broke the yoke, is that like an egg?
It's basically like a spiritual yoke, meaning that it separates that bond that you made with each other. It separates that mirror. It's like a spiritual divorce that happens
That's
in the spirit.
weird. That's weird.
But I'm just
Can
saying
I
that's
ask
why.
your opinion on something?
What was that?
Can I ask your opinion on something?
Of course.
So, I just want I've talked a lot with my audience about becoming a writer, and I wrote something tonight, and I was wondering if I could get like your opinion on what
Mm-hmm.
I wrote. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see here. So I'm gonna start in like the middle of the story because I just really want like this section
Mm-hmm.
for your opinion. So essentially, this guy's on the patio with his wife. She wants to talk about an article that is written, but he doesn't want to talk about it. So let's just start here. I had to give it to her though. The article had been out almost 10 days, and this was the first time she'd approached me since I told her I wanted to wait till after the new year. But in true Ava fashion, she picked the most inconvenient time. Wait, no, let me go forward a little bit. She was crafted to be the highest pedigree of a rich, well-to-do socialite that had a family name which might as well have been old money. And right on cue, almost as a way for her to get into character, here she was pushing me, so I'd push her back. Why don't you just tell him the truth, sweetheart, and that it's the other way around? After all, I'm just in this for the Hawthorne fortune. I flashed her a devilish grin and grabbed her hand, and with both of mine working my way up her arm and drawing her close to me. My comment is like glass kissing the skin. It's giving her the push she wants, but keeps the conversation in a safe harbor. You know that's fun. You know that's not funny, Charlie, she says dramatically, giving me a smirk that lets me know she's enjoying the playfulness. How about we do lunch, and we can talk about it? I'll take you to Amaro. You can order a bottle of your favorite champagne. Does that sound fair? You know I have too much to do around here, Charlie. What's wrong with now? What are you talking about? The house is perfect. Blah, blah, blah. There's one thing that Ava loves more than getting her way, and that's feeling desired. Her love language is physical touch, and I've learned the spots and tricks to make her melt. Sorry, someone did a pull. I touch her cheek with my hand. The layers of her brown hair tousle down the side and are glowing in the morning sunlight. My thumb caressed her lips, her bright green eyes meeting mine, and I pull her forward for a kiss. I bring my other hand up her face and run my fingers through her hair and down her neck. She leaves her chair and straddles my lap, my hands moving to her back and my nails slightly digging into her skin. She grinds her body against mine and lets out a coyish moan with a hard grasp for air as we continue to kiss. She then sits back, while still in my lap, her hands on my shoulders, her legs nestled on the outside of mine, seductively looking down. That's the part I wanted to read.
Okay.
What do you think?
Or
What?
no, I'm just trying to figure out, like, did you just want me to like tell you like what I thought? Like,
Yeah.
Sounds like you can write.
Really?
Yeah.
So you enjoyed it?
I'm like, it kind of like went over my head in a way, but I mean, if someone was like interested in reading that type of book, then it sounds like something that like would be good for them, you know? It's like I can
What
see
do you
here.
mean that type of book?
So at the end of the day, like I didn't really understand like what that had to do with anything that we were talking about, but like it sounds like you're a good writer. Like I
Really?
read
So,
books
I mean,
that
it's interesting to me, and I really appreciate the praise.
Hmm?
It's really very kind of you. It's just interesting to me that you can acknowledge that this is good writing, but you tell me that you don't understand
No,
what
I
kind of emotion or what kind of concept that I'm trying to portray to the audience.
honestly, I really don't understand. I really don't.
Really, you don't think that this like that part of the story that I was telling was a representation of passion or of connection
Absolutely.
or like a physical touch?
I just feel like in regards to that, you definitely should receive that in your life, most definitely. But with the
Right.
person that you to be with, not just not forming covenants with like random people and accepting their demons. If they have anger and then you start having anger and you don't know where it came from, you're just thinking, man, I've just been angry since I slept with that person. Like for me personally, I slept with someone who was like undercover, like sleeping with guys. And then after I slept with him, I had this weird desire to watch gay porn, and then I realized that it was because like then God revealed to me once I got saved that that's why I had that desire. Not to mention I had another friend who found a guy on her boyfriend's page on Grinder where he was using her picture to talk to guys, and at the end of the day
Okay.
she had
Um,
experience where she slept with him and then she felt this weird desire to watch gay porn, and we both were like, wow, like we didn't know why, but then God revealed to me it was because when you sleep with people, you accept whatever spirits they have on them, you accept them as your own and you're coming to agreement with them. That's why it's a sin to yourself, because
so,
that's you.
if I were to give a critique on feminism, I think there is this ideology that feminism has presented that in order to be liberated sexually, that we have to have sex like men. And I disagree with that because I don't think that in order for women to be free from kind of the confines that men have placed on women when it comes to sex, that we need to engage in certain acts that men do. Because I don't even think that'll help us center ourselves within the sexual experience. And I don't think what you're promoting either centers women within their sexual experience, that they need to abstain, that they need to have kind of this elusive third Jesus figure. to comment and kind of be like a third party watcher to find fulfillment. I find that just as unhealthy as the
See,
other end of
about
the
it.
spectrum.
Like you have this perception like I did before I got saved, because at the end of the day, like before I encountered Jesus, I literally was like, how can I just like, because I had these desires. I like to sleep like with who I like to sleep with, and at the end of the day, like I
What does
deserve,
that mean?
was very much like had feminism ways about me. Not saying that that's what totally makes feminism, but that's who I was. And those desires were like, I don't have those
What
desires anymore.
desires?
Like the desire to like, oh, like when I'm feeling like alone, I want that male attention and all of that, like desire, like
That's not what
looking
feminism
at
is.
someone, looking at someone and like wondering like what they look like without their pants on. Like I used to go through that even towards women. And at the end of the day, after encountering Jesus, after confessing my sins, I don't have those desires anymore. And it's not like I was told like believe in Jesus, he's going to do this for you. I was very stubborn, but he revealed himself to me slowly, and it's because I confessed my.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so um, it's not totally like I'm not 100% disagree with what you're saying. There is some things that I do want to talk about though. So just to clarify, with the other guest you had on here, so a yoke, what she was saying, a yoke is pretty much, on a farm they have two cows or two ox in this wooden thing, and that itself is called a yoke. So
Oh, really? So
it's
it's like a
a,
pen?
it's like a, not a pin, but kind of like
Oh, a
when,
wooden cross piece that is fastened over the necks of two animals and
yeah,
attached to the plow or cart so that they can pull.
yes.
Wow. Never
So
heard of yoke used in that context. Okay.
so the
So
Bible is,
essentially, Jesus takes what seems like a noose off your neck.
in a way,
In a way.
if you wanna think about it like that, right? So I too am a Christian. I recently left my church and went to find pretty much Jesus for myself because I didn't really want it to be in the confines of what my family talked about it as to be. I really want to discover Jesus for my own and discover my own relationship with him. So that led me to doing other things outside of that to just see, okay, if it's like okay with me. Um, the church I previously was at before I moved, um, they really was this strict doctrine that Jesus didn't like anything that you did outside of watching movies that were spiritual, to just having sex outside of marriage with any and everybody. It was very, very strict. So I really didn't agree with that because I thought God was more than that. And I came to believe that, I mean,
I can appreciate that. What did you want to talk about
the
in terms of the prompts up here?
the virginity aspect. You said that virginity isn't real. And
Correct.
I wanted to get a deep understanding of what you meant by that. Is that the what you was talking about, the first, when you're born not knowing sex and not knowing anything about it, or was it just the reborn aspect of what the other guest was talking about?
I don't think virginity as a concept is actually real. I don't think there's any kind of line in the sand that you can draw to where you can say I'm on one side of the coin or when I'm on the other. A lot of people talk about virginity in the context that it's just something that you haven't experienced. And I think using that logic, then essentially you're always a virgin and you're never a virgin. Because you can say, like, oh, well, I haven't flown a plane, therefore I'm a plane virgin or a pilot virgin. But I've gone on a hike, so I'm not a hike virgin. So you can't be both, I would say, within this context, not a virgin and a virgin. And then when it comes to using that in a sexual context, um, again, I don't think there's a line that you can draw objectively that would make any meaningful difference as a person. It's not something you possess
Got you. So
and that you lose one day.
why is that though? Because if virginity is a sign of morality and purity, then why can't you
But it's
lose that
not.
in one specific area?
It's not a sign of morality and purity. Whether you engage in any kind of sexual encounter has no relation to your morality.
But even I believe virginity is more of a physical concept than a emotional morality concept, because anybody can know, because we're all born with the know of good
So,
and evil.
a
But
physical concept. So, what makes someone not a virgin?
the act of having sex, from my belief,
What is sex?
the sexual encounter between two human beings that they
And
have
can you be a little more specific? What is that?
when you have sex with the man.
What is that?
When
Is that
the
oral
when
sex? Is that anal sex? Is that vaginal
I
sex? What is that?
I believe it's the vaginal sex between or two genital organs meeting and having a sexual encounter.
So
Then you lose your virginity.
are women who have only engaged in lesbian sex, are they virgins?
I believe so.
I
If they
see.
if
So lesbians are virgins their whole life.
the physical concept of virginity. Now, if you're
And
talking
I
about the
would assume
concept of
that gay
purity,
men
and
then are virgins their whole life.
I believe that, and only because if
So
you're talking
why
about it in a physical part, I only see virginity as a physical thing. Now, when you talk about the
well,
purity and the
so if
morality
I
of a
were a
person,
doctor, how would I perform this physical test?
what do you mean?
Well, you said it's a physical thing, so I assume something physically changes, correct?
It's just the you know what you did. It's never something that you can scale, even when you talk about it in the purity concept, because even then it's just something that you know within yourself.
You do know within yourself. Do you know what the number one question on a sex health ed education of teenagers was?
No, I don't.
I did X. Am I still a virgin?
Okay,
So again, like clearly, if that's the number one question, then you really don't know
but I mean,
yourself.
I think all of
If
this. I
you
think
had, and again, according to
this is.
you,
I think
if I
everything that we come.
do all these sexual encounters, but just with women, then I'm still a virgin.
Physically, yes.
What meaningful difference between a lesbian relationship and a heterosexual relationship is there to where something has changed about you physically, emotionally, spiritually?
Well, those are three different questions, but in a
Well,
physical sense, if
whatever
let's
measuring stick you're using,
there is no measurement stick. I believe honestly, I believe
there is no measurement.
virginity is. I believe virginity is only a concept of you believing, okay, I did this act and I'm no longer a virgin. It's all about the knowledge that you receive. Because if you're one pure
So if you
today,
don't have
no,
the knowledge, then you can still say you're a virgin.
yes, until you come into the knowledge of whatever you did, then you no longer have that
What
innocence.
what do you mean?
Because, like you said, you asked was okay. You asked the woman before me said that if someone had was raped or was abused sexually,
Yeah.
are they a virgin, or was their virginity lost, or were
Yeah.
they married to that person? On the
What does
on
that wait. What does that matter?
what do you mean?
Are you saying there's a distinction between someone who sexually assaults someone if they're married or not?
Well, no.
Okay.
Not the marriage part, but the virginity aspect. So
Right. So
I
if someone
believe
is sexually assaulted, are they no longer a virgin?
I believe it's the innocence behind it. Now,
What do you mean by the innocence?
I believe it's on age.
It's on age.
Yes, but only
What does that
because
mean?
only because if um a little girl, a little boy doesn't know the concept of sex, yes, they are open to that. They have the knowledge of whatever they just did. Their innocence was stripped. So then the virginity aspect is, I believe, is still physical. So no longer they are a virgin physically, but their innocence towards the concept of having sex, they're still, their mind still hasn't come to the realization of I'm no longer a virgin. So they can
I see.
grow up and never have sex on
So,
their own
so
free
if
will.
a child is assaulted, then their innocence still makes them a virgin?
Yeah, I believe so.
But what if an adult is assaulted?
It depends on if they was a virgin prior to, or
Yeah,
if
they are.
they
Yeah,
never.
they are. Let's just say they're like 23, still a virgin, and they were assaulted.
I believe if they never encounter someone on their own free will, they're still a virgin. By me, this is just
Right,
me. This
but
is all
they don't
opinionated,
have the innocence factor. They understand what has happened to them.
right? I understand that. Even a
So
little
what, again,
child
what
that they've been
distinction are
abused,
you making?
that is still upon free will. Then upon you going to the act of, okay, I'm gonna do this with this
Well,
person.
I feel you just changed the measuring stick. First you said it's a physical thing, and now you're saying it's based upon free will.
I mean, it's still physical, because if you go into a physical bedroom
So
with a physical
it
person,
has to
have a
be
sexual physical encounter.
consensual. It has to be consensual.
For me, this is all opinionated. I believe your points that you have put on your live is still opinionated. These are all opinions. So this is my opinion
Right,
upon.
right, but like opinions can be based in objectivity. They can be based on education. They can be based in logic. And I don't think yours are based in any of those.
And what is your based on?
I would say logic, that essentially because you can't quantify this. I would say there's no physical tests that you can perform on anyone to determine if they are a virgin or not. I would say that just because someone has an experience of a physical act doesn't mean that they have the same emotional or psychological experience as they would with another act. I would say that this is not something objectively that someone possesses. And then once they have this experience, this is gone. Even logistically, if we apply this just as an umbrella term, I don't think you can always be a virgin and never be a virgin. It's just something that objectively we don't have any real kind of standard or structure of what this idea is. And therefore, it's not real. It's just this abstract and arbitrary thing that religious leaders have used in order to control people.
And what do you mean control people?
Essentially, they use this as if you exhibit these behaviors, you are immoral or impure. Therefore, don't engage in these behaviors. Engage in these behaviors. So they're trying to control people to exhibit a certain behavior that they want for their benefit.
What are they benefiting from you abstaining from sex?
Continuous control, because essentially it's indoctrination so that you continue to abide by their ideology.
Okay, so you're saying that by them telling you not to have sex, or to say you're going to be impure if you do have sex, is them controlling you for future points that they are trying to make to you?
Is a way for them to control you, to keep you obedient to their ideology. Because when you're obedient to their ideology, you will either serve them with your time, with your labor, or you will give them your money.
Right. So what's the difference between any other thing besides religion that tell you the same thing? Because there are
Well, I
scientific
think religion isn't
scientists and
is
doctors saying
inherently
the same thing.
no, like what wait, are doctors control people?
Not saying control people, but there are there are studies that doctors, and this is all over YouTube, news articles, things on the internet, that says that explains the benefits of not having sex with multiple people, and not just opening yourself up to people. And it's not just a religious thing. I understand what you're saying. It does have a control when it comes down to saying don't do this and don't do that. But then it's also up to you to understand the religion you're assigning yourself to. That's why I chose to leave. And it's not about
Well, I'm very anti-religion. I don't think religion serves a purpose in modern day, especially with our understanding of science. I think a lot of religion is so antiquated that certain ideologies obviously don't make sense anymore because we actually have an understanding of how the world and universe works. If we're going to look at sex from any kind of like lens of health, I think there are a lot of things that we can do because I think a lot of religious sects and purity culture very much ignore socialization and psychological well-being, which is why I think purity culture in itself is very harmful. Because when you essentially prescribe virginity or you abstaining from a certain action, you create certain social standards that people need to abide by. I'm not sure if you've like heard of side hugging, or even if we look to the Bible, you know, a woman must not dress in a way that would cause a man to lust. If a man lusts, therefore he must gouge his eyes out. So now you've placed essentially another criteria on women to where they're responsible for how men view them. And if women start to see that they garner what would be deemed negative or undesired attention from men, then there comes elements of shame, of guilt, of feeling inferior. And then for the men, something that they may naturally experience that isn't inherently harmful, now they also have feelings of shame, of guilt, that something is wrong with them. And I think these just really lead to poor outcomes of how men and women socialize, even to the extent that we've seen the over sexualization of women and the detachment of emotions from men when it comes to physical, intimate interactions.
I agree. Now I'm
Wow,
a
really?
I because it's this. And this is really why I left my first church. The church that my family go to now. And it's only because I myself didn't feel that it was one right to control people by this thought that if I have sex with someone, I am deemed now impure. Because me
Right.
myself, me myself, I'm not saying I'm not gonna say how many bodies I have. That part doesn't matter. I don't care about if a woman come to me and they ask me how many bodies I have. I feel like it doesn't matter because at the end of the day,
I'm glad we agree on that point.
I myself can do my own upkeep in my body, and whatever the demons and spirits that I whatever have attracted to me or whatever the case is, I know that I can get that off of me myself. And whoever I come in contact with, I choose to have sex with them based off of the energy that they give off or the vibe that I feel from them. So that way I'm never encountering with someone that I disagree with. So the woman that said that have all these demons of anxiety and depression, I choose not to have sexual intercourse with them if that's the case. But I want to say that I just want to give you a different thought, right? So yes, I agree with you that sexual impurity is a controlled concept by religion only because if I choose to have sex with someone and we be the best friends, we never fall out. I've actually am growing, I'm elevating, and I'm pushing towards everything I have desired to do. And it's not because I've allowed this person, whoever I have sex with, to control me. And I didn't understand that once I got out of that church I was in, the new church,
So wait, just so I understand, so you agree with me that body count shouldn't matter,
right?
and you agree with me that virginity is used to control people, when it's
Yeah.
really a concept that is just arbitrarily and can't objectively be defined.
Right.
Right.
I just feel like virginity is a purity thing. And if
Wait,
you
so
hold
you
on,
subscribe to that notion? You agree
I
with that?
subscribe to the fact that if you hold out and never was touched in that way, never was exposed to any sexual interaction, any sexual news to where you've now I don't know how to explain it, but I just feel like if you've never had a sexual interaction or had some type of like informative, I don't know,
What do you quantify as a sexual interaction?
oral sex, vaginal, the penis entering the vaginal canal.
That's vaginal, right?
Um,
Or
anything
anal.
like that. Anal, I believe anything entering, like if a man put his sexual organ into a woman's body during anal, vaginal, oral,
So,
same thing with the man.
again, so you view lesbian and gay men as
Gay
pure
men,
people.
if they're penetrated, I believe that I just don't. I just me myself. I'm not gay, so I don't agree with the whole. I don't agree with that. I mean, I don't care. I don't care what people choose to do. I just don't agree with that because I'm not.
What do
I'm
you
not.
mean you don't agree with it?
As far as woman and man and man, I don't judge
Oh, so you're
nobody. I'm not
homophobic.
saying that they're. I'm sorry.
So you're homophobic.
No, I'm not. Not at all. I have friends that choose that lifestyle. I just don't choose that lifestyle, and I don't want to. I just, for me and myself, I don't agree with it. For
I hate to break it to you, but that is homophobia.
Not really. Homophobia is somebody
It very
that
much
can't.
is.
How is that?
Because you're essentially saying that when you don't agree to it, you're considering it an immoral action. Like, no one's asking you to be gay,
Right?
but you can agree that that is a valid sexuality.
Yes. I'm
So
not
when you
saying.
say I don't agree to it, are you saying I'm not gay?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm not saying because I
That's a
have a
poor
best friend
choice of
that,
words.
and broaden my vocabulary. I'm just trying to explain it the best way I can.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi. I just hello, obviously, but the guy before
Hello.
me, I feel like he was pretty well. I don't feel like he was very articulated in what he was trying to say. Um, as far as virginity goes, I feel as if we're both right in the statement, like you said. Oh, okay, well, I'm not a virgin when I haven't flown a plane. I'm not a virgin if I haven't driven a car. Well, I just lost my car virginity. I just lost my plane virginity because I flew or drove. But the definition of virginity is lack of sexual intercourse. So I feel as if in like all areas, like
So number one, I argue that if you're just looking up the dictionary definition, then you're just appealing to authority. Because if we were to look this
mhm,
up, let's say like in the 1950s, the definition would be an unwed maiden. Which do you agree with that
mhm.
definition?
I feel as if my opinion varies. Like I feel as if everyone's definition can vary. Kind of like how you have your own looks upon virginity. Like for me, virginity has always been like when I grew up being taught it, everything else is just man, woman, have sex. You okay, well you
Right.
just lost your virginity.
Well, what do you consider sex?
Sex. Okay, let's take this like all the way back, like to the beginning. If we're just going off the beginning and between
I feel
like
that's a very easy
and
question.
between off
What is
of
considered sexual intercourse?
but that's what I'm getting at. Like if we're talking about like between animals and like beginning of time and not like today, it would just be man and woman. Man and woman and the possibility of pregnancy.
I see. And the possibility of pregnancy. So if
Yes.
a person doesn't have the capacity for pregnancy, meaning that whether it is a man who is sterile or a woman who is
Mhm.
infertile, if they were to engage in vaginal intercourse, that they would still be virgins because there's no potential for pregnancy.
No, because I'm not relating this back to pregnancy just like it just being pregnancy. I'm saying that
Okay, so pregnancy
yeah,
is a non-qualifier.
yeah, it's a non-qualifier, but I'm
Right.
saying that let's say two capable people, it would result
Okay.
in pregnancy. Everything else that we
I
have that
don't
comes
know how
along
many
with
men are
it,
capable, but
you're in
so by your standard, gay men and lesbians are virgins.
the way that I look at that is that yes, it is a sexual act between gay men and, lesbian women. That is a sexual act. And I think that there's a difference between being able to be sexual with someone and having sex. I think that there's a fine line between the two, but I don't think we should blur
So
that line.
If I engage in oral sex with a man and nothing else, am I a virgin?
I wouldn't, but then again, I don't consider oral sex. If you consider a blowjob sex, then that's, again,
Well,
maybe your
what if
views, but
lesbians only engage in oral sex? Then are they virgins forever?
well, that's what I'm saying, is that it is a, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. But what I'm saying is that is a sexual act, but it's not sex.
So
I feel
what's
like
a
the line,
meaningful distinction?
the one that I gave you in the beginning, I feel as if it is just man, woman, possibility of pregnancy, and then that is kind of taken away. But then again, there is also
So,
your
I'm
definition
sorry. I'm
being
sorry.
valid.
I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but I just want to make sure I
No, you're
understand.
fine.
So the meaningful distinction between these acts is gender?
I would say so.
Really?
hmm I would say so. I mean,
Why
if it's
would that be a meaningful distinction?
reason being is because when it, like, okay, the way that he was trying to describe it, the man before me, he was saying, man and woman, penis and vagina, they come into contact, hymen pops, everything is said and
Well,
done.
that's actually incorrect. Like,
Mhm.
um, a hymen does not determine any kind of virginity. A hymen can
Well,
tear or break
no.
during a multitude of activities, and it cannot tear or break during intercourse. There have actually been
Mhm.
studies done where they have
Mhm.
examined women in regards to their hymen. Then there were even
I,
pregnant women who had an
I've
intact hymen.
I've dealt, like, I was with somebody at one point where it didn't, like, that didn't happen, but I'm just breaking
Right.
this down
So
to
again,
just,
like the capacity
like,
for
bare
pregnancy is
basics.
irrelevant. The
Mhm.
the hymen is irrelevant. You've made a meaningful distinction that gender somehow plays a role, but again, I don't see what meaningful distinction on me having an interaction with a man, a sexual interaction with a man versus a sexual interaction with a woman would make any kind of meaningful
Mhm.
distinction in terms of to my sexual experience.
Reason being is, it's like I said in the beginning, breaking this down all the way back. I mean, you would be of, like, people would consider you. I mean, this isn't something that just got made up, like, recently within the last
It
50,
it
60,
is.
100 years. I mean, from the very beginning, what do you think Virgin Mary was named Virgin Mary? Because she was a virgin. This was
Well,
from,
if we're going to
I
go
mean,
back
and
to
I'm not,
religion,
and
I would
I'm not a
I'm
Bible
sorry,
nut.
just
I'm
one
just
second.
using her.
If we're going to go back that far, then I would argue that during that time, virginity was something that was strictly applied to women, which is why when we see historical figures like the Virgin Mary or the constellation Virgo, which represents virginity, that these are all feminine figures.
Okay,
So,
well,
so it was even a definition that excluded men in general.
yes, but over time we ended up including men on that topic. But my
But
point being is that this isn't just
you
something
just
that.
went back to make a point,
Mhm.
and I showed you that you making that point, now you're saying that virginity excludes men, and
Mhm.
now you've kind of backtracked on that point.
No, I'm staying on topic. I'm saying that what you had just told me, where it excluded men as far as virginity went. No, I did not know
Correct.
that. But I do know that at some point in history, men were included on the topic of losing their virginity. You've seen it in movies, right? Like, you see it in high schools. Oh man, I lost my virginity.
Very,
I,
very modernly, and that's my whole point, is that this has just become a very arbitrary and abstract idea with no meaningful difference in terms of what actually qualifies someone to have crossed this line that has somehow made any kind of meaningful impact. Like, do we have any kind of consideration on the first time we ate an apple? Do we have any kind of meaningful consideration on the first time we held a blue pen?
no, but
I
I think
I
it was
could
just
argue
our.
that each sexual experience, even results in different emotional and psychological outcomes. So do those have any kind of bearing when it
I also
comes
think
to how
I
we
think that a lot of it
experience?
also goes for like, I feel as if it's more modest. I feel like, okay, well, if I was to tell somebody, if someone asked me, okay, well, do you still have your virginity? And I would tell them no. I mean, they don't have to go into fine and new details of, oh, well, did you have sex? Did you have oral sex? Did you do this? Did you
They
do that?
actually do,
I
like
think
very much
that would,
so. I would argue that
maybe
many
maybe
religions.
from where you live, but my life growing up, that was what I was asked. That's what I was, hell, even told.
Well,
I
again,
mean, even
I
going
think
through high
because
school, this isn't
maybe
even in terms of religion. This
I
is
think
just
again maybe because you're a man, so there's only certain ways that you can. Well, maybe not, but I again I feel that's a non sequitur. Like what does that matter?
like, what are you saying? Like, what doesn't matter? Like, just like having virginity or not
The
having
fact that you
virginity?
were asked if you're a virgin or not. Because yeah, like
Mhm.
I think a lot
Because
of people,
it's a term. That's
especially
what I'm.
teenagers have
Mhm.
tried to skirt around being able to engage in sex in ways to where they can say they still are virgins. Are you familiar with the term soaking?
No, don't think I am.
So soaking is a Mormon concept to essentially where there is vaginal penetration, but there's no thrusting.
Mhm.
So that's a
I would.
way that a lot of Mormons have said, I'm still a virgin, because when they've
I would.
engaged,
I would say
um,
that you're still losing
also
your
like
virginity
a
because of
lot of
that.
religious people have engaged in oral sex because they view
Mhm.
that outside of penetrative. Anal sex because again it's not vaginal. They take that procreation element out of it.
Exactly. You're saying that those are not considered as sex, yet you use those as
No, they are.
examples in the.
No,
No,
I think they absolutely are.
but no, but you just said that they're not. You said that they were using it
They
as
aren't
ways
within that certain religious
of getting
sect.
around it.
They aren't within that certain religious sect because even you have
Mhm.
defined sexual intercourse as vaginal penetration between a man and a woman.
Mhm. So
Right.
has
So
so
all
has
of those that I
almost.
mentioned are ways to get around saying I can engage in sex, but but still be able to say I'm a virgin.
See, figuring out what virginity was, it wasn't even something that I figured out like within a church. Like, I mean, it was from movies, it was from sex ed class, it was from just every.
To all my mutuals, if you're in the guest request, I'm.
Hello,
Hello, welcome.
how is everyone doing?
Great.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. So, I think I'm going to be kind of debating on the two topics, virginity isn't real and body count shouldn't matter. So first, I just wanted to start off with body count shouldn't matter. So I presume you are saying body count. Okay, what do you define shouldn't matter as? What do you mean when you say shouldn't matter? In what context?
I don't think it's any kind of depiction on if someone is an adequate partner or intimate interaction.
Okay, so my point would be then that I believe body count kind of really does matter, and for example, you can see it in literally everything around you, or not everything, but most of the stuff. For example, if I had to give you an option to either buy a phone straight from the shop without having been used before, or buying a secondhand phone, most likely you're going to take the you know phone from the shop because you believe that it's much more pure and it doesn't really have or have the opportunity to have so many problems. Now the thing that happens is when someone has a high
So
body count.
I think it's very problematic that you associate someone engaging in sexual activity as an inanimate object being used. Because
Well,
I
I mean,
could
it's
argue, one second, because I could argue that when we look at a car and we look at you driving a car, that there are certain parts and systems within the car that will wear down over time. But when
Exactly.
someone engages in sex, that's not true. There's not parts of you that wear down, that break, that need repair.
I mean, of course, there are no parts that kind of break down in a sense, but the whole point just comes down to you have a history, and that history cannot, be erased. So those numbers will always be there.
Okay.
It's the same thing as trying to say, let's say to a future employer, you do not want them to,
So,
look at your past and your experiences. It does matter as much as we would like it not to matter. If you have,
that's completely different, because if you were to ask someone, what is your body count? And they were to, let's just say it's 60. And they were to lie and say it's 3. Would you know?
I would absolutely not know. I mean, if maybe the person had
Wait,
slept with 60 people that,
I'm
live in the
sorry.
same area.
I'm sorry.
So the
What
debate,
was your answer?
I feel as if, the debate is really, because now you're talking about whether, I would know or not know.
Wait,
If that was
I'm
a
sorry.
debate, that would
I
be a
missed
separate
your
debate.
answer. I missed your answer. What was that? Was that a no, that you wouldn't know?
No, definitely not. You wouldn't know. If I
Right.
had to tell you that I'm 60 years old, you wouldn't know. There are certain things that, when someone tells you, you cannot tell whether they're telling the truth or whether they're lying. But that's
Right.
not the debate, is it? We're not debating, can you tell if
It
someone has a
is.
higher
It
body count or
absolutely
not?
is. Like, because if someone lied on their resume and said they had all these experiences and all of these skills when they didn't, when they went and did the job, I would be fully aware that they didn't have these experiences and they didn't have these skills.
Exactly, because there's a way that you can prove it, right? They'll obviously have to list references, and then you'd have to kind of, look into that. And then, I mean, if you do your due diligence, then some of the things, you'd see that it's a lie. I
Are
cannot
you
go and apply
married?
to McDonald's and then sorry?
Are you married?
Oh, no, 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 not married yet.
Are you in a relationship?
Yes, I am in a relationship.
Did you ask her for references?
For references, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, a relationship is not really a job now, is it? I'm not getting paid. I'm not,
I'm sorry,
I'm not getting a
maybe I'm
promotion
misunderstanding. What's the connection we're making here?
between.
No, why would you bring up that analogy of someone working at a
Oh,
job?
so exactly that. No, no, that's what it is. It was an analogy. I was trying to say that, there's certain history that you cannot run away from. And, there's certain history that most people really are interested in, and they just, kind of need to know because it affects how they, make the decision whether or not they would like to be with you or not. So essentially, this comes down to preference, right? I'm not saying that having a body count is a crime. I'm not saying having a body count, a high body count should be frowned upon. I'm saying that, most people kind of find it important when they're deciding whether or not you really are, the person they want to be with. And that's a
Why?
preference. And, how do you debate on someone's preferences? Is it a crime to have preferences? If I had to ask you what kind of a partner you want, you might probably tell me you want
It's
maybe
not
a
really a
tall, a short,
preference.
you know, sorry?
It's not really a preference, because I think essentially when people say that body count matters, is that they're essentially evaluating a certain stance of someone's morality based on how many sexual encounters they've had. And I really think it's very dangerous to evaluate someone's whole personality and how they conduct life based on their sexual encounters. Because they can have one long-term relationship, one partner, be a very toxic, be a very immature, and be a very abusive partner. Or they can have 10 other
Uh-huh.
partners and be very loving, be very considerate, be very kind. There were just other compatibility metrics that didn't match. So, no, I don't think it really provides anyone with any kind of valuable information. I don't think it's really objective, because you said yourself you can't verify if it's true or not. I think this is a way for men to evaluate women on a level of purity culture, which is a way for them again to control women.
I wouldn't really know about controlling women because, okay, for instance, I believe that, the whole thing with the body count, which kind of links to the virginity, is that it's most of the times it can be linked with religion, right? Let's say if you're a Christian and your
Yeah,
religion tells you that when you have intercourse with someone, there is a part of you that is essentially shared with that person. So, for example, in Christianity, which I know of, is that when you have intercourse with someone, you're technically married to them in the spiritual realms. So you find somebody that has a 60 body count, it
I
simply
mean,
means that in that religion they have 60
if
spiritual,
Jesus, I did learn this tonight.
wives.
If Jesus cuts your yoke, you're not, and all you have to do is ask him.
No, so the thing is, when you have that like high body count, like the thing is with Christianity, right? You cannot really then come and debate that it doesn't really matter because that's a religion. And then when you go into religion, now you have to also debate about whether that religion really should be taken into consideration. And then when you debate that,
I
you're
don't think
essentially
any
going into
religion should be
whether
taken
people
into
should be able to
consideration.
choose. Because no, the thing is with the body count, it's something that you cannot really say it shouldn't matter. Then henceforth
Sure you
no
can.
one should take it serious, because if a certain religion takes it serious and I follow that religion, is it a crime that I also would like my person or my other half not to have a high body count because of my beliefs? Certainly not. I'm not
Yeah,
trying
it
to say
is.
you're a bad person or anything.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah, it
saying
is.
what I
Like if
associate with.
if your religion said that in order to please
Uh-huh.
your God, you had to marry children, would you find that problematic?
If I didn't follow that religion, then I'd probably find it problematic. But if I did
Even if
follow
you
that
followed
religion,
that
then
religion,
I
even
wouldn't
if
be
you
finding
followed
it
that religion,
problematic.
is that a problematic behavior?
It is a problematic behavior, and I would like to know if there is a religion that kind of advocates for that, and that would really be problematic because I
I
feel as
would
if
say
that's an
majority
extreme.
of them,
I haven't
especially
heard of one.
Christianity. Like how old was Mary when she got unconsensually impregnated by God?
I mean, how old was Mary? Can you and me prove? Because I know for a fact I cannot prove how old was Mary. I
13.
I, I don't know if maybe you can prove. Can you
13.
prove that though?
Well, I don't think the mythology is real in general. So I don't think Mary ever existed. I don't think Jesus ever existed. But
So if you do not think they existed,
according to biblical stricture, and many people who follow Christianity, they confirm she was 13.
uh-huh,
So
they
if this
confirm.
is a biblical story
How,
that God chose a child to give birth to his son, I don't know why we
wait,
wouldn't have this
I'm sorry.
concept that God
I'm
allows
sorry to
people to
I'm sorry
impregnate
to cut
children.
you off there.
Yeah.
How do they confirm essentially, and why do you believe that that is true? Because essentially, if you're
Because
saying that
Mary's born
she was
in what,
13, no, no,
13
wait,
BC?
wait. So you're saying that they confirmed that she was 13, right? And you're saying that's true. So you're accepting that proof.
I'm saying within the
If I also
religious
come to you,
community, they've confirmed their
but then
mythology.
but then the thing is, you cannot acknowledge that if you really are not believing in what they're saying, right? If I say that, okay, what if I say to you that I
I can
confirm? Let's
confirm.
say I say,
I can think that what they are saying is mythological, but I can also acknowledge that their mythological text says she was 13. Those two things are not mutually
so this
exclusive.
is what I was So this is what I was saying earlier on, what they're saying. In what context is it? When they say 13, do they mean 13 in dog years? Do they mean 13 in our years? Because I would like to think, times have changed and things have adapted and, terminology has sort of like changed.
Bro, you lost me with the dog years comment. Did they mean 13 in dog years? Get a fucking grip.
Hello, welcome. Hello?
Oh, sorry. I requested by accident.
Oh, okay, no worries.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much, how are you?
Good. So I'm not going to go really quick into the religion thing, but I do want to really quickly point out
What a relief.
history. Yeah. So I really want to point out history, judging history based on our current ways of living and stuff. So just one thing. Back in the days, people used to marry really young because they used to die really early. So, people used to marry 14, 15, 16. That was a norm. That was like the
Joseph.
who? I don't know about religion, so I'm not going to religion. I'm
Joseph.
just who?
Joseph. How old was Joseph?
I have no idea who Joseph is. Who?
Joseph was estimated to be 31.
Okay.
So again, that not necessarily had anything to do with like 13-year-olds marrying 13-year-olds. That had to do with grown men marrying women, or excuse me, girls.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna get into religion, Joseph, or Mary or any of that. I just want to point that out that happened. But I did want to really quickly talk about what you guys were talking about, the body count, but from a woman's perspective. Like, I want to hear from a woman's perspective. Like, you said it wasn't a preference. So let's say there's a woman, right, and she says, "I do not want to be with an F boy. I don't want to be with an F boy. I don't want to be with a man who's been with, hundreds of women. I want to be, I want to make sure that I'm not with an F boy." Would you say, "Oh, that's wrong. You should not, judge them based on that"?
No,
Is that a no? You shouldn't judge them based on that, or
no, I don't.
is
I
it
don't think
okay?
there's anything wrong with her saying I don't want to be with a fuckboy.
Okay, so what is wrong with men saying the same thing? I don't want to be with a woman who's an F girl, basically, a woman who's been with a lot of men.
So I think the context that you're missing here is if a man wants to be in a committed relationship and a woman wants to be in a committed relationship, I don't think that their past behavior and how they've engaged in previous relationships is necessarily reflective of their current wants and desires. So if I want to be within a committed relationship, why would I want a fuckboy? He doesn't want to commit. Our goals are misaligned. It would have not like if let's just say he's a bad fuckboy. He's only had 3 bodies. Doesn't matter. It's still a low body count, but his goals aren't just aligned with mine.
Yeah, but how do you know his goals? Like, how do you truly judge somebody's goals and
You
what he
ask them.
is, and you just believe them?
Yeah, if I want to be in a committed relationship and someone says, I want to be in a committed relationship with you, I think you can go through certain maybe hoops or hurdles if you want in order to ensure that. But
Mhm.
yeah, why wouldn't you like why would you date someone you don't trust?
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying. So the way
So
I view it,
yes, if I trusted them, I would believe them.
okay. So I think that the misunderstanding here is that people don't really ask. Like, it's rare for people to ask, "What's your body count?" You know what I mean? That is
I
very
agree.
rare. Either it comes up like one of their friends tells you about it. Oh, she's this and that. That's been my experience. Either that or the way it really happens. Men are asking body count. Men don't have to ask body count. We've evolved through thousands of years to like that literally be like a big issue, because of pregnancy and all that. That we have like cues to know
Pregnancy
what.
does not determine body count.
No, I'm saying so. Back in the days, like somebody like before birth control, somebody who had a very high body count is very likely to get pregnant by a different man. So either way, I'm just talking about like the way like why we have this hang up on body count, like one of the reasons. But what I was saying is that we don't really have to ask what somebody's body count is. We pretty much get like cues and things based on personality. So for example, you were
I
asking the other guy.
disagree.
Okay, so you were asking the other guy. Let me ask you, see if this is true. So you were asking the other
Yeah,
guy, would you be able to tell if somebody has a high body count? Like, how can you tell? And I would say, if they have these particular things, then I would say it doesn't matter whether they have a high body count or not. Just like you said, it doesn't matter whether they have 3 bodies or not. I would not want to be with them. So somebody who has a high body count is likely to be very impulsive, obviously, because they just
that's not
they
necessarily true.
well, in my experience, they are like I don't know. Have you ever met a woman who like everybody in the office knows that she's like literally like been with everybody? Have you ever met somebody like that? Like somebody who actually does have a really high body count?
Allegedly.
Okay, So no, it sounds like you've never met somebody who's really known to be like, have a really high body count. Everybody knows she slept with the boss. She slept with her brothers.
She slept with her boss and with her brothers.
With her sister's brother, best friend.
With her sister's brother.
With her sister's best friend.
Oh, what is with men and saying the stupidest shit tonight? What if they met 13 in dog years? What if she slept with her boss and her brothers? Like, I need a new channel in my Discord. We have one that is like my mic drop moments because I'm really into, well, it's kind of my thing to say like really sarcastic and like punchy one-liners. We need one for fucking guests who just say the stupidest shit. What if she slept with her boss and her brothers? Get a fucking break. I'm sorry, get a fucking grip is what I meant. Out of the Matrix.
Tate bro. Her sister's brother, I know, yeah.
What's going on?
Hello, welcome.
Hey, so what's wrong with the patriarchy? It exists, but it's not as prominent as it should be, in my opinion. But what's your deal with the patriarchy?
The patriarchy is essentially designed to control women and keep men in power.
Yeah, as it should be. I mean, let's think about it. What fully ran civilization that's completely controlled by women exists today? I'll answer that for you. It was a rhetorical question. There isn't one because it would have been dominated and completely wiped off the face of the earth. So the patriarchy is necessary.
Do you think exploitation is a good thing?
No, not at all. But I think that
Okay.
male dominance is a real thing.
One second. If you don't think exploitation is a good thing, tell me a country that is in the a first world country that is first world without exploitation. I'll let you know because that's a rhetorical question. There isn't one.
I answered it for you. I said that already. There isn't one.
Right. So again, I don't think you can necessarily say that the patriarchy is good because there's not the opposite prevalent where you could acknowledge that certain societies exist today without ethical means.
Well, if you look at it from a biological standpoint, the one thing women bring
Wait, no. Your illogical standpoint. Go ahead.
No, biological standpoint. The one thing women bring to the table.
Did you change it from logical to biological?
No, I said biological. Your ears were blocked.
Biological.
Yeah, biological. The one thing women bring to the table is the ability to breed and reproduce. The one thing that men bring to the table is the ability to make the world go round. Because without men, you guys would be living in the Stone Age, and that's not a matter of opinion. That's a matter of fact. Every single thing.
By the Stone Age.
I mean, the Stone Age. Who goes out in an ice storm and fixes down power wires? Is it women or is it men? Who goes out and builds?
I think it's people who work on power lines, regardless of gender.
Yeah,
what makes a man more capable of fixing a power line?
Let's just what? Okay, well then, why is 99% of power line fixers men? Why is 99%?
Men have predominantly had more economic advantages than women. Women have ultimately been not included when it comes to participating in the economy.
What women do you have in your social?
Let me ask you a question. No, wait, let me ask you a question.
All right,
are women better leaders than men?
I'm sorry?
Are women better leaders than men?
No, absolutely not. They're emotional creatures by nature.
So there was a study done that tested 19 different characteristics of leadership. And women outperformed men in 17 of them.
I don't know what kind of liberal college ran that study.
That's not a liberal college thing. So based on that kind of information, I would argue that women are better leaders than men.
I would argue that I disagree.
I would ask you, why are we not seeing a society where women are leaders if we are better?
Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to ask you a few things that make the world go round, right? Like
no, I want you to address my argument.
Well, I'm going to inadvertently. I'm going
I'd
to.
like you to do
So
that
what
now.
are I'm going to inadvertently. I'm going to listen. What are the 5 things that you depend on the most in your everyday life?
That's not
Just give me.
addressing my argument.
Yeah,
That's
no.
pivoting.
I listen. I
No, that's
promise you.
pivoting. That is
Well, see, that's
pivoting to something else.
no, no,
You
no,
are
no,
not
no.
addressing my argument because you're
So
essentially saying because men are more able and better at performing these tasks, that's why we see men perform these tasks. Where I have used your logic and said, well, women are better at this task, which is leadership. So why don't we see predominantly women in leadership? That's the argument you have to address.
I don't have an answer. Apparently, they're not up to the task.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well,
But
so I think that you don't have an answer because you recognize that it has nothing to do with skill or ability. It
that's
has to do with
ridiculous.
the structures that are placed within society that have deemed men inherently competent and capable when filling certain tasks when that's not true.
Let me guess. You're one of those people that say the gender pay gap needs to be addressed and that it's a real issue. I'm assuming that's probably your standpoint, right?
That's another pivot.
No, no, no. I'm
That
trying
is
to.
a pivot. That is a
It's
pivot because we're talking
no,
about
no,
one thing. You're like, wait. Let me change the subject so that I can
no, no,
discredit
no. I'm
you
just saying that
somewhere
for,
else because
for
I can address this talking
no,
point
no, no,
because it's inconsistent with my logic.
no. My
Because
logic is sound. You know
it's
it's
not.
sound. Be honest. Be
It's
honest.
not.
Are you trying? Are you
I
listen? Are you?
literally asked you a
Let's
question and you
let's
said
be honest.
I don't know.
All right. So well, no, what I said was they're probably not up to the task. But what I'm asking you is this: if the power goes out in your city, are you the type of female that's going to climb a tower, bridge 2 fucking 410 amp wires to each other to bring
That's
power back up
irrelevant.
to?
That's
No,
irrelevant.
you're not. Let's just be honest about it. You're not.
That's
All right.
irrelevant.
When
You
it
have
comes to
no
building
idea
a
what I do for a
skyscraper,
living. And I guarantee you are not the type of man who is going to perform that task. So
oh, you are wrong. You are wrong. You should listen. Go
wait
check
one
out my
second, before
content.
we
Go check out
continue,
my content.
I don't care. Before we continue, I want to kind of educate you on something because I don't know if you're aware. Women are more educated today than men are. So when you use female, in order
Hmm.
for it to grammatically make sense, you need to use it as an adjective. So when
No.
you say like, as a doctor, I'm gonna go see my female patients. Patients is the noun, female is the adjective. But when you're gonna use it as a noun, you need to say women. Because if the doctor were to say, I'm just gonna go see my 10 females, that doesn't make any sense.
I
So
don't
when
know
you
where
said,
it
are
came
you
from.
the type of female that's going to go address the
No, I
power
said
issue?
woman. I
That
said
was
woman.
structurally poor language. You
No, I
should have
said
said,
woman.
are you going to,
I
no,
said,
you didn't. Are you going to
yes, I
be the
did.
type of woman to address that?
No, that's exactly what I said.
But
Are you the
no,
type of
it's not.
woman you
You
think?
try, pumpkin.
All right. Well, sounds good. Anyhow, I'm just wondering when you're going to kick me off here because I'm going to make you look extremely foolish with your ideology. So when it comes to,
Honey, I don't know if you've been paying attention
oh, I've been paying
to
attention. It's
what's
been
been
fucking
happening.
laughable.
To what's been happening. But I think the longer you're going to stay, the better you're going to make me look.
Well, yeah, maybe to females who share your ideology, but to
To
most men that
women.
live in
We just
reality,
went over this. To women. That was a noun. The way you used females in that sentence was a noun. To women.
are you fucking deaf? I just literally said women. I said to the
You
women
literally said
who
to other
share your
females. You
to that
literally
share
said to other females.
to the women that share your ideology. Right, I probably will continue to look foolish to your audience. But if they're being honest with themselves, they
Okay,
what?
I
All right,
want I
let's
just
take a
want the
poll. Let's take
men.
a
I
poll.
just want the men in the comments to vote.
Let's take a poll.
So if you think that I look
Put up a poll.
foolish, I am putting up a poll. Are you dense?
Yeah, apparently I am. I don't know, man.
Okay, great. So this is just for the men in the chat. I want you to hit smiley face if you think I am the one that looks foolish, and I want you to hit sad face if you think our matrix escapee
Yeah,
is
but
the one
how
that looks
do you
foolish.
dictate if men are the only one that take your poll? Because you got like 99% females in here.
How do you know that?
Because I'm fucking watching them in the comments spam the fuck out of them.
Well, you told me to run a poll.
No, the poll I would like you to run is this. All of these women in the comments that agree with your ridiculous ideology, I would be very
What is
curious
so
to know what
ridiculous?
the idea that you guys could survive without men in a non-patriarchal society. You could not. You'd be wiped off the
Oh,
face. Why do
absolutely,
you think?
absolutely.
Why do you?
Are you aware that as a species, for centuries, humans survived in a communistic society to where men did not rule through violence and power?
Where are those societies at now? They got wiped off the face of the earth by men who dominate through violence and power. They don't exist no more. So
A majority of civilizations that end due to famine or natural disaster.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Good try, though.
All right, in the modern world, right? You fucking give me one example where there isn't a patriarchy and they are actually doing things on a
That's
global
a
stage. They
that's
don't.
not
It doesn't exist.
that's not relevant to any kind of argument that
Sure it
I'm
is.
making. It's
Yeah,
not.
sure it is.
It's not, because you want this example because you think it inherently
It doesn't
upholds the
exist.
page.
You
One
can't give me
second.
an example. It was a
One
rhetorical
second.
question.
You want this example because you think it inherently proves that the patriarchal system is the only way that we can organize society.
It
Are
is.
you familiar with the Scythian tribe?
No, because they don't fucking exist no more.
Well, I think it's because you're a man and you're uneducated. So
No,
the
well,
Scythian tribe was mainly comprised of warriors, and these warriors fought on horseback with bow and arrow, which that kind of style of enacting as a warrior did not give men an innate advantage. So we could see within that tribe that 40% of warriors were actually girls and women.
that's very interesting, and I'm sure
I'm
that'd make
sorry,
for a good
40%
bedtime story.
of girls and
That'd
women.
make for a great bedtime story, but the reality is those types of societies would fucking get wiped out in the modern world because guess what?
They actually wouldn't. Even if we look at modern warfare, when it comes to war and military, it is not brute force strength that wins wars. It is tactical advantage, it is weapons, and it is technology.
Okay, so who has the most might on Earth right now?
Who has what?
The most might militarily on Earth right now. It's
In terms of
debatable.
what?
Military force, military might.
In terms of what?
You just literally got done saying that it does not matter. You just said it was technology, military strategy, tactics. I mean, is what you said. So on Earth right now, as far as global militaries, who has the most dominant military on Earth? And I'm not talking from a
Based on what
technological.
metric? Based on what
No,
metric? I don't know if you want to get a pen and write my questions down.
no. I heard exactly what you said. It's the
Right.
Chinese army by
Based
far.
on what
And guess
metric?
what?
Based on what metric?
You just said what is the most dominant. You said we couldn't base it on male or female anatomy. You said it was based on.
You are asking me what is the most dominant military in the world, and I'm asking you to give me a metric. Based on what metric?
Based on the metrics you just listed out.
What
Technology.
metric? Oh, so we're just talking about.
You just
Okay, so we're
named them.
talking about technology. We're talking about strategic advantage, and we're talking about what?
Your metrics that you just listed out that we had to base it on. That we
So
couldn't
tell
base it
me.
on.
Okay, so tell me. In terms of the Chinese military, versus the U.S., can you give me like the numbers and the metrics on how far the
Yeah, they have
Chinese military is ahead of the United States?
a billion man army, and we have a slight fucking. I mean, absolutely nothing. Our recruits are down low. Most of America is obese and not trying to join the military because they hate the country that they live in. So, I mean, militarily, I would say that
Who
China
has
is
the
probably.
largest military budget?
We do by far better, more than the next 10 countries.
Right. So what
But
are we
money doesn't
investing
mean
in that
military might.
military budget?
Yeah, but money doesn't mean military might or capability, right?
Really? You're saying that because even though we invest 26 the amount of money that the next 26 countries behind us
10,
invest,
10 countries, 10 countries, but
that we still aren't number one.
Oh, we're number one at spending, that's for sure. And I think under
Right.
this
So
we're gonna find
we
out
are
if we're number one.
actually poorly running our military based on cost versus effect.
Ability. Yeah, I think so. But I guess we're straying away
Wow,
from the
that's
main
really interesting. Why
We're-
isn't China like taking us over?
Are you watching? I guess you're too involved with fucking patriarchy and social justice warrior issues here stateside. But if you've been watching what's
I
going
mean,
on over in
bro,
Taiwan
if
right
you want
now,
to add on, you certainly can. It doesn't do anything for me.
no, I'm just saying, like that's the problem.
I
I
think
get
you're
it.
very much aware that you have come to a battle of wits unarmed.
If you think that, you are fully misinformed. We were talking
No,
about
I think you're fully aware of that.
Listen, lady. I would totally disagree with that fucking sentiment. 110%. You might want to go check out my content. You might want to go check out my content before you come to that conclusion.
Why?
I've been out drinking I'm sitting here right now on a 12-pack, shit-faced drunk, holding my own with you, and you're sober as a preacher on Sunday. I will run circles around you on
Are
any
you sure,
subject.
sweetheart? You sure?
Oh, sure as the sun's gonna come up tomorrow, baby.
Mm-hmm. What value have you said? Like honestly, I feel you give very vague statements. You don't respond to any kind of retort when it comes to an argument. You move the goalpost. You do acknowledge that there is a patriarchy, but
There's
you
a need
essentially
for a
want to
patriarchy.
uphold this ideology because
Yeah,
you think
so
it's the only way that life can be maintained, even
so
though you inherently acknowledge that it's not a beneficial society, that it's harmful, because
I
you
think
think
after the third wave of
exploitation is bad.
this wave of feminism has bypassed. So like during women
Oh,
listen,
wow, there's
listen,
another
listen.
pivot.
No, not at all. During women's suffrage, right? It was all about equal rights, right? Like women should be on an equal playing field with men. But this latest is trying to this latest wave of feminism is trying to look for advantages over their male counterparts. And that's
In
not
what
progressive.
capacity?
I'm sorry.
In what capacity?
Well, okay. So what is the point of being a feminist in 2023?
That's
What
not
right do I
answering my question. That's not answering
no,
my
no,
question. You
it
said that
is, but I'm
women
trying
are
to lead
looking
you.
for advantages over men, and I'm asking
I'm
you in what capacity.
I'm trying
And
to lead you
that's a
to a
simple.
logical.
No,
Listen,
you're not. You're
I'm
trying to
trying.
ask me a question so
No,
that you can dodge.
no, I am trying
What
to lead you.
capacity are feminists trying to
I
look
am.
for advantages
I am.
above men?
I'm trying to lead you to a logical conclusion by taking you along every step of the
You're
way.
not. You're not.
I am, but you're
You're not.
cutting me off, and you're not.
No,
So
you're just asking questions so
in
that you
20,
can avoid the
I want
points
you to
that
answer.
I'm
I
trying
want you.
to
No,
make.
no, 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 no. What I'm trying to do is get you to answer your own questions, so that I don't have to be the
No,
bearer of bad
I
news.
don't need to answer my. So this is where I think you don't understand how a conversation is structured. You made a claim, and your claim was that feminists are trying
Mm-hmm.
to now essentially make it so where women have advantages over men. So I
Yes,
asked you to substantiate that claim. Tell me in what capacity. And now
I'm trying.
you are telling me that you need to walk me down a lane
Yeah.
of logic without
Have you ever
substantiating your claim.
Have you ever heard of the Japanese? It's called a kaizen. It's a 5 why method, right? You ask 5 questions
Well,
and you ultimately get.
again,
Listen,
that's irrelevant. I don't care.
I'm trying to educate you, but apparently you know everything.
Please tell me, when it comes to modern feminism, at
Listen,
what capacity are women looking for advantages to have over men? Just give me an example.
I will follow
Right
me
now.
down the path. What I'm
No,
asking you is
just right
this.
now. I don't need to follow you down a path. You just need to answer the question.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to answer your question for you. What in 2023 do women still have to fight about or fight for
So
rights about?
that's not substantiating your claim. Asking me that question is not substantiating my claim. Now you're asking me essentially what is modern feminism about, rather than substantiating your own claim that modern
Because
feminism is about this.
by you
So
answering it
tell me.
honestly,
No,
listen,
because if I tell you what modern feminism is about, then you get out of having
no,
to
no, 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 no.
substantiate the claim that you
By
made.
you answering it, you're going to prove my point for me to your
No, I
audience.
can very much answer it. I assure you.
All right,
I
well,
just don't
I'm
want
waiting.
to
I'm
let
all
you,
ears.
no, no, no. I don't want to let you out of this point because you know you don't have an answer. So please answer my question.
My
When it comes
my
to
answer is
modern
this.
feminism,
All right, after women's, all
what
right.
tenets are women trying to employ that give women the upper hand in a patriarchy?
Okay, the pay gap. That's a prime example of the pay gap, where women supposedly, without taking all factors into consideration, make 77 cents on the dollar for a man's equal whatever, right? Is that not a thing? Is that not a thing that you guys still gripe about today? The pay gap? Is that not a thing?
How is women saying that we are not paid
You're
equally
not paid.
for
You're
equal
not paid
one
the same
second,
because
I
you
just
don't
want to
do
make
the
sure.
same.
I just want to make sure. If you want to talk about the pay gap and then again substantiate to me that it make me substantiate that it exists, that's fine.
Okay,
But
no, no,
I
no.
just
I
want
will
to
say this.
understand. One second. I just want to understand your perception that women want equal pay is your perception that women want more than men.
You want something for nothing because if you were doing the same thing, listen, this is how you disprove the gender pay gap, right? This is how you disprove it. If women truly made 77 cents on the dollar for every hour a man works as opposed to a woman works, then why wouldn't any company in their right mind just hire all women? Because you would have essentially a 25% profit margin on your business model if you hired all women based on the fact that they made 70 cents on the dollar. The reality is that in every single arena that men make more than women, it's because women have no desire to do the type of work that men do in our patriarchal society. And that's one thing that you're trying to avoid in this conversation.
No, not at all. If you want me to take an analysis on that, I can. So there was a study done that analyzed wages between 1950 and 2000 and looked at industries that were predominantly male, where women actually entered within the workforce. So the short answer to your question is that women's work is essentially devalued, which you have done constantly through this conversation. And because it is devalued, therefore, men like yourself think women should be paid less. The study showed that the more women that entered
What
the
study?
industry, one
What
second,
study?
that was,
What
I will give you
study?
the source. I will give you the source, don't worry. The study showed that when women entered an industry that was predominantly that was dominated by men, that the
Mhm.
median wage decreased over time as the ratio of men to women went up in women's favor.
I'm gonna take things that never happened for 500, Alex. You're full of
Yeah,
shit.
that's not an argument.
No business owner that has the option to pay a 25% less hourly or salary rate than their male counterpart would, if the female was truly capable in that business segment of
Again, if the
accomplishing.
woman was truly capable, if the woman,
Well, if the woman, you all right, we can get up on semantics, but the reality is what it
it's not
is.
semantics.
All right. Listen, I'm a business owner, right? If I knew for 110% fact that this gender pay gap existed in our society based off strictly, biological fucking male or female anatomy, right? And I can pay a female anatomy who's just as capable of
A
going
woman,
up and running high voltage wire or building skyscrapers, 77% as opposed to 100% of what you would pay that male counterpart why would I, if I had full,
You're
hold
not
on, you're
providing
not
me.
letting me
No,
finish my
no,
point.
no. You're not providing me with anything. You're just
No,
essentially restating your claim. You are. You're
no,
just restating your claim. In
But
order
what I'm
for this
saying is, like,
logic to make any
how would
kind
a
of
bit?
sense, why would employers in a capitalistic society not just hire women? Because
That's
they
right.
think that hiring men will give them higher profit margins
That's
because they
ridiculous.
devalue the women's labor.
Oh man, that's an illogical fallacy.
It's not a logical fallacy. It's by
That's
the way, it's
exactly what that
logical
is.
fallacy is the correct term, not logical fallacy. And you would
That's
have
not
to
what I
tell me
said.
what logical fallacy that is. You said
Because
logical fallacy.
that's not what I said. Ask your
It,
guest. But
it
anyways,
absolutely is, bro. You can try and
oh,
gaslight me all you want, but it's not gonna work.
but I mean, you could. I mean, clearly you're getting destroyed in this debate.
Oh my god. What
Clearly you're getting
kind
destroyed in
of
this debate.
SDE you gotta have to think you're winning?
Anyone that's listening to this without bias in their blood and is listening to this is seeing
Bro,
what
you
I'm
don't
saying.
gotta try and gaslight the chat too. They all heard
I don't
you.
have to gaslight them. They know what it
That's
is.
exactly what you're doing. That's
Listen, they can
exactly
type
what
what
you're
they
doing.
want.
You
Listen, they
literally
can type.
said logical if fallacy, which is
That's
not
not.
a correct
That's
term.
not what I said.
It
You can.
is.
This is your live. This is your live, so you'll be able to go back later and look at what I said and see that you were wrong and look stupid.
I'm
But
not
anyways,
wrong, and you know I'm not wrong. Like, come on.
yeah.
The
I mean,
study.
it's good.
Did
We're
you
getting
want the
off.
source?
I think
Probably not, but okay.
we're getting off point now because you have
We're
gotten
not getting
destroyed in
off
such
point. You're just
nature.
embarrassing
Such,
yourself. What
hey,
logical
I'll take
fallacy?
it.
What logical fallacy did I do?
Oh my God, man. All right, so rewind. We were talking about the fact that
What
a
logical
business owner,
fallacy? What logical fallacy did I do?
you saying that a woman being devalued in a patriarchal society is the reason why businesses does not hire low-paying females because they're just as
Low-paying
capable as men. I
women.
think that's what.
Low-paying
What?
women. So no, I said the reason that your logic is not correct is because men do not hire women because they don't value their labor.
They're not capable of the same labor.
They
Physically,
absolutely are.
biologically.
I don't know if you're, especially within modern society, there's not a lot of industries that require high physical endurance in order to maintain any kind of like economic prosperity. There was a study done that was international that actually
You keep saying
evaluated
there's a study. There's a study.
1,000
What study?
different businesses. And they found that when women were in the C-suite position, which is upper management, CEOs, CFOs, that those businesses outperformed the male counterparts by 25%.
Cool
So
story, man.
yes, women
Listen.
very much positively contribute to the economy. And
All right.
again, can you tell me what logical
We were talking
fallacy I
about
did?
society. Now we're
Wait,
talking about
no. I've let you get out of a lot. I've been very charitable. I want to know what logical fallacy I did.
So we were talking about society. You just flipped it
You
to
don't need to tell me
corporation.
what we were talking about. Just tell me the logical fallacy.
No, I
What?
just did. I just recapped it, and then you went on some
That's
fucking
not the
tirade
logical
about I don't
fallacy.
know what.
Can you name 3 logical fallacies for me?
Relevant to this debate, or like just about
Just in
fucking any
general. Just
subject?
in general.
And a lot. So do you just want the definition of a logical fallacy, and we can just kill giving you 3
No, I
examples,
want
or
3 examples of a logical fallacy. I don't. Do you need?
well,
If you know so much about logical fallacies, then
you
you should
just
be able to
presented
name
one.
3.
No. You just presented a logical fallacy when you said.
Tell me which one. Give me an example of 3
I
logical
did.
fallacies.
Are you fucking hard of hearing or what? When you
No, I
equated,
think you're just
when
dumb,
you
and you're
when
trying to
you
pretend to be smart. So you're
when
saying
you
these trigger words or these
when you
maybe not trigger words, these buzzwords that you hear within
Lord
the
have
debate
mercy.
community, and you don't know what they mean. So name 3 logical fallacies for me.
When you just equated, I did. I literally just
No, that's
did.
not the question now. Tell me
No.
3
When I
logical
brought,
fallacies.
all right, listen. When you started
We're
talking
all
about,
listening. We are all waiting for you to name
You
3
keep
logical
cutting me
fallacies.
off. Are you a nut job or what? Are you off your fucking meds? Every time I go
No,
to talk,
I'm not off my meds. I'm just not letting you squirm out of this. They
I'm
have
not. I
names.
literally, when
So
I
I
brought
don't
up
need
the,
you to say, you did
oh my
this.
God.
I'm going to tell you what happened. I just need you to name 3
I'm,
logical fallacies.
I'm trying to
No,
rewind
I don't
when
need to hear. I'm trying to rewind. I don't need to hear anything
when I
other
brought up
than
when I
3
brought up
logical fallacies.
when I brought up
I don't
a
need to hear
logic.
what I brought up. All I need to hear
Are
is
you all? Are you
3
seriously?
logical
What, you
fallacies.
fucking smoke dope tonight or what? When I
I
brought
don't
up the
need to
term
hear. I don't need to hear. Did you smoke dope tonight? I just need
when
to
I
hear.
brought up the term
What are
illogical
3
fallacy, you were
logical
talking about the gender
fallacies?
pay gap and the fact that you were trying
I
to
don't need
equate
to
that.
hear
I'm
about you
giving you
talking
one
about
right
the
now.
gender
The one
pay gap. I don't need you to give me a recap of the conversation. I just need you to tell me 3 logical
I'm giving.
fallacies.
I'm listen. I'm not on a fucking quiz
I
show
don't
here.
need you to tell me, listen. I don't
I'm
need you to
giving
tell
you.
me, excuse me. I
You
don't need you
sound
to tell me,
ridiculous.
I have a question. I need you to
No,
tell me 3 logical
I,
fallacies. Number
I'm
1,
giving you.
go.
I'm giving you
I
the
don't need
one.
to I don't need you to tell me I'm giving you one. I just need you to say it. 3 logical fallacies. Number 1, go.
The one that I brought up was
Nope,
the
not the
one.
one that was brought up. That's not what I'm asking.
Well,
Again,
what the fuck's the point
what
of
are
the
the
fucking?
3 logical fallacies? Go.
When you brought up.
When you is not a logical fallacy.
Well, why did
Give
I
me
bring up the
3
term?
logical
What brought? What?
fallacies.
Listen. What brought up the term? What?
Listen, what I brought up the term is not a logical fallacy.
You're a fucking nut job.
A
Let's
logical
get back to the
fallacy. Go.
subject.
Let's get back to the subject. It's not a logical fallacy. Give me a logical fallacy. Go.
The gender pay gap
The
example
gender
that
pay gap is not a logical fallacy.